All right, hello YouTube. Welcome to episode 161. My screen is wrong, but it is 161. Let's see, the great part is I think I can go ahead and edit this once I find the right thing here. No, that's the wrong one. There's the right one. So like that, and it is updated. So, we were on episode 160, Roundtable 161. Of course, we did 160 last time. All right. We're going to be, let's go ahead and dive on in. Let's hit the intro and get the podcast started. And we can dive right into all the fun shenanigans.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the palaver begin.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode Roundtable 161 of Dark Tower Palaver. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we're here for our first roundtable of March.
What's so crazy?
We were just marveling that we don't know how it's already March.
Yeah.
It also doesn't help we did our March hangout for Patreon yesterday, which is technically February. So I don't know if that helps it throw it off even more. But yeah, it just doesn't feel like it's March. I don't know.
It's weird how slow January went and how fast February went.
Yeah.
It's just off.
That means we're 2 months away from a Stephen King book.
That's true. A new one, yeah.
Yeah, new Stephen King book.
What's it called again?
Never Flinch.
Yeah.
I've been dabbling with stuff, but I think Never Flinch is the new one. Let me get my extended Ted up. Yes, Never Flinch. You Like It Darker. I had to get the title for You Like It Darker, and that's now thrown it up in my head where now that's like fresher in my head, even though that's the one that we've already read. But yeah, Never Flinch is coming up very well. I guess it is toward the end of May, so technically not 2 months, maybe almost 3 months, I guess, if you wanted to count the fact that it's the 27th of May. But yeah, that's all on the horizon. Let's go ahead and hit the intro real quick, all the intro particulars, and then we can get on into it here. So first of all, we want to give you a spoiler warning. This is a roundtable, so we will spoil freely of the 7 primary books of the Dark Tower series, as well as all the ancillary stuff. And honestly, because we are now covering, the Dark Tower series as well as the extended King universe, we will obviously be talking about potentially some other things. Other books and stories tend to come up. We just reread The Dead Zone, so that's fresh in our brains. The monkey.
The monkey is. I was going to say the monkey is going to be a topic today, right?
Yeah, talking the monkey. So if you spoiler warning that, I do think the monkey we're going to probably stay. Honestly, how much spoilers element is there of the monkey?
Just the movie specifics and stuff like that. But
yeah,
if you haven't seen it and don't want it spoiler.
Yeah.
That. But if you've read the short story, you basically know everything we're going to talk about, except that the movie is different than the story. Let's just put it that way.
Yes, indeed. But then if you want to find the show, you can find us on Apple Podcasting, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, or any podcasting service of your choice if you like the old school way of doing things. If you could subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those services that allow that, we'd appreciate that. Then if you want to join us for the live streams, you can do it over here at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. Every fortnight we come together and record live here on YouTube.
Yep.
You can also go back and find years and years worth of previous episodes if you want to watch those. See, Peter reacting to Ermot and Rhea's very close relationship.
That was just recently.
Yeah.
This year.
Yeah, it was indeed.
Last year? Was it the end of last year or the beginning of this year?
Peter's always got good reactions. You
Oh,
know,
thank you, sir.
the first time we discovered the fact that Oi brutally attacked a boy on a bridge. I remember Peter was quite perturbed because of course
fucking slander against the most beloved character, as
Well,
voted by
second.
our second. I always forget the second to Eddie.
Yeah, by one vote.
One vote.
That one came out close.
I'm still maintaining that's my vote that determined that.
I had a shower thought on that too.
Yeah.
You also are a fan of the beasts that are Saint Bernards that also attack children. So
I love
I
Saint
think you just like children attacking creatures like Billy Bumblers and Saint Bernards. So
My favorite, I'm playing right into your head. My favorite Stephen King book is It.
yeah, there you go.
I mean,
there you go. But then on the YouTube side, if you want to like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, all that helps the algorithmic gods that will destroy us all one day.
Boy.
Yes, and although Peter does want lightning teeth. Once in his life, so.
No, no lightning teeth. I'm good. Oh God, I have such sensitive teeth. I was eating ice cream the other day and I had it hit my teeth just the right way.
Oh yeah,
Dude, it's like physical pain for me.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like I was over there just like, and my wife's like, "What's wrong?" And then she looked at me, looked at what I was eating, and she goes, "It hit your teeth again, didn't it?" I was like,
Yeah.
She's like, "Ooh."
Yeah. Then if you want to find the show notes, you can do that over at darktowerpalaver.com, as well as Baraki mentioned it in the chat. March Insanity is upon us. I'll be talking about that in just a second. But you can find all that over at darktowerpalaver.com as well. If you want to hit / March Insanity, that'll take you straight to the March Insanity stuff. But today is the first day of voting. So then if you want to support the show, you can do that Patreon over at patreon.com / darktowerpalaver. With that, you get access to our Discord server where you can chat with us all the time. If you ever want to send Peter snake emojis, that kind of thing all throughout the week. So, randomly on a Wednesday afternoon, if you want to send Peter a reminder of Ermot's crevice diving, you can.
Crevice diving. Jesus Christ, that's a phrase. Except when I have the Discord muted.
Yeah, that's true. But you can do that, and as well as we have our monthly hangouts. We just had our one yesterday. We talked about the Dead Zone.
Next month is going to be the movie.
Next month we're watching the Dead Zone movie, which Peter's never seen before.
Yeah.
And then,
And I will definitely not mix up Christopher Walken and Willem Dafoe again. That is for sure.
And then also, if you are on the highest of our tiers, you can co-host a show with us. So go ahead and find all that over there at patreon.com.
I had an idea about that I wanted to talk to you about, and I'm going to do it here so that they can hear it as well. What about if we have them moderate some of the debates that we have? I mean, we never did finish the flag summit.
Yeah, I mean, I think I won. So
you think you won? I know I won.
Oh, see, what I hate is all the slander. Just recently, I saw some people that were just passively acting like flag had something to do with Captain Trips. And I think I blame the 2020 series on that. Somebody even said they thought the 94 series implied it in some way, and I can't think of anything in that series that implied flag had anything to do with it.
It's been a minute since I've watched that. Honestly, I should probably watch that with my wife now that she's kind of getting into Stephen King. Dude, she heard me talking about, she asked like how the hangout went yesterday. I was telling her like, oh yeah, we talked about the Dead Zone. She's like, the Dead Zone, that's King, right? I'm like, yeah. And she goes, you've never talked about that one. I'm like, oh shit. And so I told her kind of like the synopsis of it, and she's like, why haven't you told me this sooner? This sounds amazing. And I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I went, what have I done?
I mean, you do have 70-something books you're equating here. And the fact that she's reading it makes me happy. But
she might be taking a break. She might she's finding it hard to listen
in the dark.
And at any point, because our child is home more and more. So it's just like,
so get that kid a knit book.
It's finding she's finding it hard to listen to it about children being murdered with a child in the house.
Yeah. That's what the good Lord invented headphones for.
You know what? That's a good point.
Then if you want to contact the show, Peter can let you know the ways to do that.
Yeah, sorry.
And also thank you, Brocky, for the snake emoji. Do appreciate that.
Just the worst. You can always email us, show at darktowerpalaver.com. We haven't had an email for a minute, have we?
It's been a couple episodes, yeah.
Yeah. And then find us on Threads, Instagram, and Facebook. It's Dark Tower Palaver, all one word, on Threads and Instagram, and then facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And then find us on Blue Sky. It's at darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. And then check out our Twitter. We still have it. It's at darktowerpod. That's at darktowerpod. And then go to tpublic.com/users/darktowerpalaver. Pick yourself up a hashtag Tad is terrible sticker. shirt. I'm actually in the market for a new shirt. This one's starting to wear out a little bit, Tad. I need to get a new one.
Which, of course, is the lie anyway. So you
It's
could just
not a lie. You are the worst.
Nah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, then let's jump on over to the March Insanity. We've already alluded to it, but March Insanity has begun. It is March 1st. So it's been going for, what is that, about 14 hours now?
Yeah.
I mean, I actually don't know how it works because I set it for midnight, but I'm like, does that then, like, move for people around the globe? So, like, with the Australian people, I wonder if they were able to vote, like, yesterday or if it goes off of our time. I don't know how that works.
No, isn't it tomorrow for Australia?
Yeah, so they would have been able to. Midnight,
yesterday for us. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, I don't know how that works. I know the internet tends to like move, but like when I set a poll from my webpage and like the thing that I created on our website, I don't know if it like goes by my time, which means that everyone's been able to vote for about 14 hours. By the way, we have 2 brackets this year. The traditional Dark Tower bracket, which is our 5th one, I believe. We are doing favorite spoken line, and then the non-Dark Tower King bracket, which is the first time we've ever done that. We are starting where we started with the Dark Tower one, which is most hated non-Dark Tower character. So you can go ahead and get your vote cast. There is nothing necessarily that like stops you from voting multiple times. That's totally okay. We're Illinois in 1960 election type things, with Kennedy with the ballot stuffing and whatnot. Totally okay with that. Because honestly, it's one of those things. If you really want to vote multiple times, you just can. So I'm kind of the opinion of like, there's all those people that talk about that with sports, where it's like, well, there's always going to be people that are getting around like the testing for steroids and stuff. So it's like, just let them all roid the hell out and just let them go at it. That's
let them do the whole George Carlin.
That's the way I view like the voting. I'm like, if people really wanted to like multi-vote, they already will find a way.
Yeah.
So may as well just not really restrict.
So what
it.
you're saying is I need to go vote.
If you haven't,
is what I mean. I have not.
I
haven't looked. I don't know what the brackets are yet. I haven't looked.
What?
I didn't look at the brackets.
We
we
covered
revealed them last
Yeah.
time. That's right.
Yeah.
Should I vote? Should I vote live here?
As the line says in episode 1, Star Wars, vote now. The chant, vote now, vote now.
Should I? You want me to do my?
Go
ahead.
And then I've got the calendar, which is pretty much standard all March Insanities. So the first round you'll be able to vote from March 1st today through the 8th, and then it'll be the 9th through the 16th, and then the 17th through the 24th, and then the 25th through the 31st for the finals. At the end of each round, I'll have a short YouTube video posted to recap the round and look into the next round.
So subscribe and ring the bells to get notifications for when he drops that video.
Yes, indeed. So, good fun. Can't wait for the old March Insanity to see what we're crowning this time here. But yeah, everyone go vote. I actually kind of forgot. I started to do the final prep this morning, and I got to my slides and realized the March Insanity shit. I'm like, oh my god, it's March today. So I went and logged on and did my vote. So,
oh shit, I forgot about Patrick Hockstetter and Henry Bowers going against each other.
Yeah, indeed.
Interesting.
So yeah, that is the March Insanity update. Heil, Alan, welcome.
Oh hey, Alan.
And Baraki giving an angel emoji along with the snake emoji that came earlier.
Yeah, sure.
So the address to vote is darktowerpalaver.com/marchinsanity. If you go to just darktowerpalaver.com straight away, because it's kind of I set the whole page up as like kind of a blog, so the most recent post will always be at the top. And I do believe that I had that one on a timer. I don't think there's been any other posts, so that should be the top post on darktowerpalaver.com as well. But after these all get posted tomorrow, these episodes, or this episode, if you go to darktowerpalaver.com/marchinsanity, it'll take you straight to the hub for March Insanity stuff. And the vote should be there top of the way until round 1 ends. So go check that out and have your vote heard. All right, so let's go on over to the news here. Peter alluded to it. I may have told him to plug his head in the sand.
Yeah, I got a text from Tad. Oh, dude. Got some news dropping. Go mute the Discord. He's like, it's probably going to get dropped in there. And I went, yes, sir. I didn't look at anything. I just hit mute. I said until I turn it back on, so I know fucking nothing.
And what do you think when I tell you things like that?
Oh, dude, it's got to be something about Flanagan, right?
Yeah. So I will say, everyone that's listening, might shout at the screen because there's been some updates with this as it's gone. But so this is an evolving story. But we'll cover it in order of the way that it all came out. But let's just go with the first one here that came out on February 24th, 2025, from Tom Jorgensen from IGN. And the headline for this one was, Stephen King confirms he's writing for Mike Flanagan's Dark Tower adaptation.
Oh, no fucking way.
And then, quote, it's happening. And this is from IGN's FanFest 2025. So that's what broke on, what was the 24th? Was that Tuesday?
Yeah.
Monday. Okay. So the article reminds us that Flanagan has often talked about faithfulness being paramount to his adaptations of the Dark Tower series. Then the article mentions his past adaptations have kind of proven that he's actually been relatively successful at being faithful to King's works. They probably give him too much credit because I would argue that Doctor Sleep isn't the most faithful to the book. But at the same time, I think we all give him grace there because Kubrick's movie is one of the biggest things in like pop culture history.
Yeah.
So you can't make a sequel to The Shining without addressing Kubrick's films. So.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we had such high praise for with Dr. Sleep is not only did he toe the line between praising, not discrediting The Shining is how I'll put it, but then also staying very faithful to the source material for the Dr. Sleep novel.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was able to do both just shows the prowess of him as a filmmaker and also that of how big of a fan he is.
Yeah. I'll throw it out there. We just reread Dr. Sleep in the last year or so, I think. Maybe for our Patreon. And I hadn't reread it in a while. I like the Dr. Sleep book, but I think Flanagan's film is better than the book. I think there's some stuff that, being able to have the overlook there, which I know that King couldn't have done because his overlook was destroyed, but I think that is way more compelling than just the grounds of the thing. I'm not really an overly big fan of Abra and Danny being related. I think that's kind of I wasn't super fond of that turn of the story. I don't know. It's kind of one of those things like Star Wars, like every black character shouldn't be related to Mace Windu or
or Lando.
I almost said Billy D. Lando. Like it's shrinking the universe, right? And there's just an element of like it feels like it's shrinking the universe a little bit for Abra to be. I don't know. And it's a small nitpick, but ultimately Flanagan I think made a masterful film, and he also did have a little bit of a benefit because he could lean on Kubrick's side so that when they actually go to those grounds, it's not just a hollowed out campsite anymore.
Yeah.
You still have the damn overlook there, which is pretty iconic.
Right.
So but I think the movie and the director's cut specifically is perfection.
Yeah.
So
Agamorphy says 100%, Ted. He agrees with you.
yeah, and again, not to say the book's bad, because I love the book a ton.
It's
but
it's taking it from here to here.
Yes.
Like it's already fantastic.
It's kind of like I was talking to somebody online recently about The Mist. Like I think that Darabont elevated The Mist. One, because of course the ending I think is better than what King did, but also the weirdest thing for the novella is when is it Frank? Or no, am I thinking that because he played Punisher? Thomas Jane's character. It's not Frank. It's because he played fucking Punisher. David Drayton. He just fucks a chick in the grocery store in the novel, in the novella. It's like, as far as he knows, his wife's at home. Like, this is the weirdest thing, and I'm just glad that Darabont just left that on the cutting room floor. So there's just those small things, and it's fine. Like whatever, no storyteller's perfect, and I think it's always easier for someone to go and almost adapt because they can kind of see what another person did and then improve upon it sometimes. Right. I mean, not always. We're talking about the rare occasions. Most of the time, King's works are far and away greater than the films, but there are rare exceptions. So then they said that the IGN have exclusively learned that King himself is writing for the Flanagan series. Of course, King is no stranger. And I'm pausing here outside of their article to point out, because I will say during the course of this day, Monday, I saw a lot of people acting like this was bad and that King isn't good at writing for screen. And I think these people are fucking idiots, because I think that okay, if you're fixating just on The Stand in 2020, that final episode he wrote, you might say that wasn't necessarily the best. I gave Franny a little bit there. But there's some people that have some problems with it. But I just wanted to point out, he's no stranger to writing adaptations, including Desperation, A Good Marriage, Maximum Overdrive, Pet Sematary from '89, the Shining series, Silver Bullet, Sleepwalkers, and The Stand from '94. So he wrote the whole thing in '94, and then he wrote the final episode in 2021. So as well as he wrote screenplays for new creations like Creepshow, which had no book adaptation. It was just a straight new thing he wrote for I almost said Darabont, for George Romero.
Yeah.
And then he also wrote Storm of the Century. So it's like when you go look at the scripts that King has written, he's done some really incredible things. So I just wanted to point out that no one should. I mean, I'm not saying he's perfect, but you can't look at his breadth of work and say that he's not a good screenwriter.
It's not instantly a negative. Oh, hey, Carol.
Oh,
welcome
hey, Carol.
back.
Yeah, welcome back, Carol.
Hey, great to see you.
I think last time Carol was here, you weren't here.
I think that's right. Yeah, I'm back. She's back. Oh, everything's coming back together. It's great. Got the content back together.
That's awesome.
But what I was saying is, like, I don't think that you can take King's work as a screenwriter and instantly just go, oh, this is the worst thing that's ever going to happen. You know, like, I don't understand the insanely negative here. Like, cautiously negative, like, oh, well, I wonder how that's going to work with King and Flanagan, because Flanagan, let's be perfectly honest, Flanagan's amazing. Like, we've seen his work. We know how good it is. I wonder if him and King are going to have the same vision for a series and everything like that. But if Flanagan is working with King, I'm going to trust Flanagan.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that I'm going to trust Flanagan over anything, because show me something bad from Flanagan. Like, especially something King that Flanagan did, you know?
Oh, and I completely missed my list. I just dawned on me as we were talking. He also wrote the entirety of Lizzie's story. He adapted
the Apple one, right?
Yeah,
that's on Apple, right?
Entirely, yeah.
I just had Apple back. I should watch that. God damn it, there's too much to watch, Dad.
Apple's one you might stick around with for a bit, because there's a lot of good stuff on Apple. So,
and it's not nearly as expensive as some of the other ones.
Yeah. So during a roundtable interview supporting the monkey at IGN's FanFest, IGN asked King if he'd be interested in contributing to Flanagan's Dark Tower, and he said, quote, "All I can say is it's happening. I'm writing stuff now, and I think that's all I want to say, because the next I'll stir up a bunch of stuff I don't necessarily want to stir up yet. I'm in the process right now, and to say too much feels like a jinx. So that's what he said.
Great.
But now the cold water, because
let's dial it back.
The next day on the 25th, King took to Blue Sky, and even that, it was kind of nebulous, because everyone's been like so whether the Blue Sky is actually King, because he like did it like 6-8 months before he ever left Twitter, and was never really active on it. And then when he moved to Threads, like it doesn't line up exactly. Like sometimes there are exact posts, and it's like, hey, that could just be someone pretending to be him that grabs his stuff from Threads and posts it on Blue Sky, and it just. I don't feel like I ever felt comfortable there was full confirmation.
Looks like Agamorphy is suspicious as well.
Yeah, but either way, on Blue Sky, if it is King, said, quote, "Contrary to the internet, which usually never which is usually never wrong, I am not writing for Mike Flanagan's Dark Tower." And then Mike Flanagan retweeted, which is probably where it comes into probably more legit, because I think that's more confirmed, saying, "However, it's no exaggeration to say that you provided the ultimate blueprint for success." And then in parentheses says, "In fact, it's the understatement of the century. Thank you, Cy." So I would say that's probably a confirmation that it's not happening, but all this happened over the course of a day. So the one thing, so what I think happened here is that King was not super clear with his wording.
I was gonna say, like, it's happening. It's got me. Okay, here, hold on.
Yeah, so he's not super clear with his words. They asked if he wants to be involved, and then he says, "All I can say is it's happening. I'm writing stuff now, and I think that's all I want to say, because next I'll stir things up that I don't want stirred up yet." So I don't think. So I think what happens here is he's reaffirming that the series would happen, which is always lovely to hear. But then he moved in his mind to talking about the Talisman 3, which we know from his tweets is.
That's what I was trying to I was trying to figure out a way to say that, is that I think that what he's talking about is exactly what Flanagan said. Flanagan clarified it by saying, you provided the ultimate blueprint. King might be providing something that tacks on to the Dark Tower with Talisman 3.
Yeah, which we know.
We know because he said
I'm back in Midworld.
I'm back in Midworld. Exactly.
And on the King cast, he said like Midworld and territories are the same thing. So.
Yeah, so it just makes me think that there's a little jumping here, that it's like, it's happening. I am writing, and it's like, oh, he's writing for the Dark Tower series.
Yeah.
That's what
So
he's meaning. But I don't think that's what it. Yeah,
I think it's two separate thoughts, and he just wasn't clear that he was transitioning from, the Flanagan series that's happening to the next thought being I'm writing in the Dark Tower world right now.
Yeah.
And they just took that to meaning because he didn't necessarily transition that thought very well verbally. They just interpreted that as he's writing on the Flanagan series.
Yeah.
So
Agamorphy says, yeah, he mixed two trains of thought. Senior moment.
Yeah, and So I feel for King. We're nearing the decade mark on this podcast, and there have been plenty of times where you're discussing X, and then you mention Y, but in your words you don't really strike the wall between the two, and then suddenly it sounds like you're talking about X, Y, and you're like merging. Like it happens all the time. It's happened to us over the years. All of us. I think it happens. So I think it's just one of those things. Your mind sometimes is moving quicker than your mouth, and especially. I mean, not to say that King's not adept at media relations. He's been doing it for 50 something years, but still, there's just one of those things that can happen. But the big thing is I do want to point out is let's analyze that first part for a second. When he says all I can say is it's happening.
Well, I mean, Flanagan has every intention of doing the Dark Tower series. Saying that it's happening means that Flanagan's getting close probably to finishing it, like the script and everything like that, and having it ready to be sold.
Yeah.
Like presenting it to people is what I mean.
So I'm not, I guess there's two ways to look at this. There's the optimistic and hype side where it's like, previously on the show in the last number of months, we had some quotes from Flanagan where we both kind of side-eyed each other and said like, does he know more than he's willing to reveal right now? Like, is there maybe some things in place already that we don't know about?
Well, we were talking,
it's a timeline thing, and it's just one of those things you can't reveal it until, like maybe after Life of Chuck or something. Like, let some other stuff get out of the way before you release.
Well, we were talking about an interview that happened either right before or during the strikes, where he was talking, and it's like, and I think I was the one that said it. I was like, I think there's like a handshake deal somewhere.
Yeah, and
that's like, dude, Flanagan, we're picking this up.
Yeah.
Like, I can't officially say.
And like Carrie, we've talked about the fact like Amazon's like, hey, we want you to do a Carrie adaptation for us. Is that a prove it project? Where it's like, hey, here's a much smaller, cheaper King adaptation. Show us what you can do, and then after that, you're going to get your green
magnum
light
opus,
So, like, I mean, that's all speculation, but it's just something I've wondered because it seems very strange.
It just feels that way, right? Like with everything that has been happening since that interview around the writers and actor strikes.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, he's like, oh yeah, like I've been talking to people. It's like, wait, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't have anything like ready. Like, like you're not finished. And now it's like, we've had these conversations for months now where it's like he's got something up his sleeve, but I think you're right. I think the timing is just not there yet.
Well, think about like when did we find out that Flanagan had the rights? It was like it was right around a year turn. Was it 2022? It was either late 2022 or early 2023. It was right around that Christmas season. Because I always get it mixed up because there was, I think, the Flanagan announcement, or there was Flanagan announcement, and then there was the Mazzara announcement that Amazon was not moving forward.
And that was in January.
One of them was in January. One of them was in December. Because I remember, and they weren't the same. That wasn't the same year.
The Mazzara was in January because I was like, what a shitty way to start the year. I remember saying that.
Okay, so then I think Flanagan's end was
It was in December,
but
we didn't know about it.
Yes, and what I'm saying is when he announced that he had the rights to it, it was like December of whatever year, and then we find out from an interview a number of episodes back where he kind of talked about the whole process of like he got the rights to it in 2020. It's like, so he had the rights.
Yeah, that's what it was.
He had the rights to the Dark Tower probably months after Mazzara was turned down.
Right.
So it's like, okay, but then he waits almost 2 years before he announces that, like, hey, I've got the rights to this. Like, it's one of those things. Timing is kind of everything, and like there's usually a strategy to these things. So like that's kind of where my suspicion is that like there is some things in place. Maybe it's not a full-on green light, we're going to give you 8 seasons, whatever the fuck, but like I do feel like he's probably got like a wink and a nod or a handshake, or maybe even it could even be a signed deal, but it's a matter of you don't want to announce it until the proper time, because I mean he's also got The Exorcist coming up. I mean there's all kinds of stuff.
There's a lot of projects that have happened since he obtained the rights that he may not want the Dark Tower overshadowing all of those.
Yeah.
And some of those are even King adaptations.
Yes.
I mean, hell, the Fall of the House of Usher was around there too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was working on it, getting ready for it to come out.
Yeah.
It came out in 22.
Because that
23?
same interview, he was talking about how he had already started a bunch of work on the Dark Tower, and then the whole the move away from Netflix happened, which means he had to pretty much had to restart from zero because what he was working on was almost like probably like work with like potentially for Netflix, and then when the whole Netflix when he decided to move on from Netflix to Amazon, everything that he would have worked on under the Netflix umbrella had to be kind of dropped, and then you go and restart. So it's like there's just part of me that has been suspicious of this for a long time now, probably 6-8 months would be my guess.
Yeah.
I always say it's been a couple episodes, but that, that's kind of like when I'm like, oh, we've been on YouTube for 2 years, and it's like, it's been a much longer
than
that.
8,
Yeah. Exactly. So it's probably 8-9 months ago, whatever, but I remember we've had some suspicions, and we had that reveal that, oh my God, Flanagan's probably had this a month or two after Mazzara's folded.
He's had it for 5 years now.
Yeah, which is because it was the Life of Chuck thing.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't even a Dark Tower interview. It was a matter of when he was talking about Life of Chuck, because King's like, you've got the Dark Tower. I don't want to give you another project. And then the writer's strike, something happened where it was like, okay, I've got some time now. And King's like, okay, I'll give it to you type thing. And it's like, wait, that goes back to like 2020. Like, he's had it that long. So
yeah,
it's just that kind of thing. So it makes you wonder with King saying it's happening, if that's maybe a tell into that vein of there is potentially something that's already more solid. We just can't know about it yet. Of course, then the pessimistic side is it's happening in the sense that, yes, Flanagan has the rights and that's it, right? Like
he has the rights and he's been working on it.
Yeah. So it's a matter of like, I know that comes into like tone and stuff, and I know we're just looking at text here. There's no way to know like what King's tone was. But ultimately, it's a matter of glass half full, half empty. How do you look at what King's saying here? Does it mean that there's something on the horizon, or does it just mean that Flanagan is adapting the Dark Tower series?
Yeah.
With as of right now, without a green light, without a network, without a streamer.
That's worst case scenario, and if that's worst case scenario, I mean.
Yeah.
That's hey, thumbs up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Carol says, I missed so much in the last year, a lot to catch up on.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a lot. That revelation during the Life of Chuck stuff was like insane to us.
Yeah.
The fact that he got the rights that long ago, and it took almost 2 years for us to get the announcement that he had the rights. It's like, wait, what? Are you kidding me? So yeah, there's been a lot that's happened for sure. Of course, the more optimistic view is what I would prefer. I've been suspicious for a while, but this makes me suspicious still that like, at some point, it's just a matter of like, it's kind of like a Christmas thing, right? It's like, you may have the Christmas present, when you're a kid, your parents may already have it, you don't know it. But there's like a specific date that it's like you will know, right? It's Christmas morning type thing. So it's like we just don't know when Christmas morning is for this. Like that's because I tend to be more optimistic.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be, right?
Otherwise, life sucks.
Yeah. But Monday was a wild day.
Yeah.
With all this break. I mean, yeah, it was all over the place. I saw it on like every Stephen King subreddit, on the Dark Tower subreddits. It was on the television subreddit. So it was like, it was all over the place. Yeah. So
Tad's over here to like the mad scrabble, and then I'm out there. I have my Discord muted. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just do.
Yeah. And I was working, so I didn't have much of a chance to go look at the quotes. I was mostly looking at headlines until later. But I think by the time I got to it, there was already a lot of doubt whether it was actually legit or not. But then it was funny too, because the way it broke, I don't know how it was IGN that got it, but early on it was like a bunch of like the smaller blog type places that were reporting it first. And then like eventually Polygon, which is a little bit bigger. And then eventually IGN, it was like IGN that actually had the quote. And it's like, okay, those are like legit. This isn't like just some like random blogger making something up.
Yeah.
It just turns out it's IGN just misinterpreting a quote.
I mean, they're interpreting the quote the way they want to.
Yeah,
is
and the way
is.
we would want to too.
I mean, yeah, they're pessimistic too, Tad. I mean, optimistic.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, that is the Flanagan news. Let's go on over to another fun little one that is on here, and you just finished a read on the Dark Tower series, so I'm interested to see what you think of this. And this one is 10 reasons Stephen King's Dark Tower series is so hard to adapt.
Okay.
And this is from Jeremy Urquhart from Collider on February 17th, 2025. So he's got 10 here, and then at the end I'm going to ask you a question. slightly related to this when it comes to.
Okay, do you want me to react to the 10 or wait till
Yeah,
the
no,
end?
yeah, you,
Oh, okay,
you
okay.
can, because my question's a little bit different. It's like
Okay.
semi-related, but not entirely. Yeah, number one, he says the first book is kind of strange. And then his subtitle to it is Roland himself might be a hard sell too.
Hey, this sounds familiar.
He says, so the Dark
Where
Tower.
have I heard that before?
He said, so the Dark Tower number one, The Gunslinger, is weird. It's the shortest book in the main series, which means most of the action might as well fit within the confines of a normal length movie. But it's the content that's off-putting and the style. There are only a few key characters, and the central one, Roland, really puts the anti-hero, which, yeah, that's seems legit. I think it probably doesn't help that, like, the Man in Black is such a distant thing through most of the book. So it's like sometimes like an anti-hero is a little bit easier to accept when like you've got the villain you can look at and go, oh, okay. But like,
well, yeah, obviously he's the anti-hero. Look at what he's dealing with.
yeah, but it's like in the first book, you don't get the Man in Black until the very tail end. So it's like most of the time you're just seeing Roland and you're like, God, this guy sucks. Like he's kind of an asshole.
He kind of sucks. I mean, the only thing you get from the Man in Black is that he brings Nort back from the dead, and then he involves himself with Sylvia Pittston. It's like,
Yeah.
what's so bad about this guy?
Yeah.
It's not like Francis in the first Deadpool. You know, Deadpool's famous anti-hero. Francis is literally selling mutants into slavery. It's like, yeah, that's a bad guy.
Yeah.
That's a bad guy.
And then he goes on and says, becoming more heroic later on, though some of his flaws in the first story come back closer to the end of the series. He says, narratively and stylistically, though, The Gunslinger is weird and nailing the strange tone it has. And then he says in parentheses, which is really out of step with most other Stephen King stories. In a film adaptation would be uniquely tough for this particular part of the Dark Tower story. There's also much teased here that would take multiple movies to pay off, and many characters and key concepts that don't enter the picture at this early stage. The 2017 film, which took some elements from The Gunslinger, also ignored or heavily altered a significant amount of what could be found in the original text. Yeah, so I want to just clarify from the Flanagan perspective. I believe we have a quote from him where he's basically said that The Gunslinger will not be a full season by any means.
Yeah.
Like it's probably going to be the first two books in the first season.
Yeah.
So I kind of wonder if it's going to be like a 2-3 episode arc for this book. So I'm not, and I know Jeremy here seems to be talking about it more in the realm of movies, which I'm glad we're not doing. I'm glad it's a show. I think a show's way better. I think this is a long form story. So, but I will say that, like, yeah, I've said this for years. I mean, I remember in the aftermath of the movie, there was a lot of people that were just mad. Why wasn't it just a book? It's like, how do you make this book into a movie, man?
Yeah, we've talked about it before, is that if you're going to do a novel, one of the Dark Tower books into a novel, the debate comes down to either 2, 4, or 5. Those three are the most adaptable movies.
Yeah.
Books into movies is what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think the debate has to be had one of these days. Is it Drawing of the Three? Is it Wizard and Glass? Or is it Wolves of the Kala? And I mean, Wolves of the Kala, I mean, just go watch Seven Samurai or The Magnificent Seven.
I was going to say, it's been done a number of times in Hollywood.
It's right there. Like,
Yeah.
it's already been done. So that's where my argument stands, that it's Wolves of the Kala. That's easy.
Yeah.
But to say that one is hard to do is something that we've said for, like 7 years.
'Cause I mean,
we talked about it.
Even when you go read that book, next time you read it, just think about how much of this is, because like the big part is that I think it's really hard for some people to grasp is when we're reading a book, we're getting internal monologues, we're getting like all kinds of like, internal stuff that you could never show on screen, right? Like every once in a while you get a movie that can do like narration, like Goodfellas or Shawshank Redemption or something.
Right.
But by and large, those are a minority, and doing voiceover is very can be done very poorly. And it's like, so it's a matter of like, how do you convey like so much of the first like quarter of the book that's all like in Roland's head, right? I
mean, where do we pick up Roland in the desert? It's heading towards the way station. So all of Tull is a flashback.
And you could show flashback, that's
So-
easy, but it's like when he's like in with Brown and then like in his mind he's like, is this an illusion? Like what's going on? Like, and then like when he starts to like have flashes of like what, there's just a lot of stuff that's like not like, you know, when it's movies, it's spoken. It's how does an actor hold their eyes? Like, what are things they do? Like, so it's like suddenly like 3 or 4 pages worth of like Roland's internal monologue is like a couple seconds on the screen. It's like, oh, suddenly that's no longer like that's not much.
And like he said as well, this is the shortest book. So literally, when you boil it down, you have, and I think Brocky has a good point here. Book 1 is 3 episodes. Episode 1, Tull. Episode 2, Waystation, Jake, and Oracle. Episode 3, Mountains, Mutants, Man in Black, Confrontation, and Palaver.
Yeah, that's my my feeling too. Is that it'll be like 2 to 3 episodes, and probably 3 is probably safer.
Yeah, because like all the stuff with Hax the cook and his training with Court and everything like that.
Yeah,
you could do it, but does it fit? You know. Yeah. And everything.
So if you do 10 episodes, and I don't know what Flanagan's vision is, like that leaves 7 episodes for book 2, like that sounds right.
I just worry about squishing book 2. I don't.
Not
I don't
me.
want it,
7 episodes, 7 hours to tell that story. That's.
I don't know if that's enough.
Oh, I think it's plenty.
I'm honestly surprised that
Also,
we're not on opposite ends here, because I would think that you would want more time for your girl Detta.
Yeah, she's great. I love Detta.
4 hours of Detta.
No, I think that when you like 7 hours is a lot of time. So I think like covering that. I mean, you know, like what did they do? Didn't they do less than that for the 2020 stand? Not to say that's a good example, but it's like I think they had less hours for that for 50-hour books. So you know, 7 hours, that's a long time to do it all. So what are your thoughts on that though? Is that
I mean,
concern for like when he's saying these are the biggest like concerns?
Again, we're talking movie.
Do you agree? I mean, in terms of an adaptation, though, yeah, like because it can't be a full season.
We've talked about it before that book 1 is the hardest to adapt, simply because it's how do you come out of that theater rooting for Roland?
Yeah.
You know, how do you come away
Especially
from that?
If he kills Jake.
How do you come away from season 1 if that's season 1? How do you come away from that after he murders an entire town, men, women, and children? If you do it accurate to the book, the abortion of Sylvia Pinson is unsettling, and then of course the death of Jake.
Yeah. I mean,
he's I mean, at that point he's making Vader look like, you know, Dad of the Year and Good Guy of the Year in episode 5. You know,
he's given the whole like, Spider-Man, you can catch me or you can save that school bus of children, and he picks the villain. Like that's like Spider-Man always save the bus, right? Like Roland goes the opposite and goes, I'm going after you.
He's not flagging blowing up the bus and then going after, you know, the person that he's chasing.
Slander.
But
so number 2, half the main characters aren't included until book 2.
Okay,
that's not a bad. I mean, there's how many people bitched about the movie because, you know, Eddie and Susanna weren't in there. So, and then its subtitle for that is it took a while for King, or it was a while before Stephen King was ready for Eddie. So you probably got to brace yourself and be ready.
Brocky, you say, I don't know, maybe you do have to show the context for why Roland had to choose the tower by showing some flashbacks. The problem with that, though, is that's not shown in book 1. That's not until book 4 that we find out why Roland chose the tower.
Yeah.
Because it's when he goes into the grapefruit and he's shown the world and everything like that.
Yeah.
You don't know why Roland's going for the tower. I mean, all of book 2 and 3, Eddie's like, why the tower? Like, why are we going there? Why do you seek it? And Roland will not tell him anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's going to be maybe, I don't think he covers that. He doesn't really cover that in this article. But I will say that's one thing is you don't really get clarity on the tower until the book 6, and if not even into book 7, where it's just like a lot of the stuff about the tower is mysterious all the way through the end of the story.
Book 5 is the big reveal. Is that there's a problem with the tower, that it needs to be saved.
Well, there's still a lot of mystery though. Like there's a lot of mystery as you're going, where it's just like, because I remember getting into like the 6th and 7th book where it's like, you know, and I remember that obviously like the Polaroid of it, it's like, oh my fucking god, like there's just elements of like, you know, I mean, there's also the mystery of what is the tower, what's going to be inside, but like I don't know, it's one of those things that mystery doesn't pay off for a long time. That's something a lot of shows or movies would never do. Like your mystery is going to get paid off early, and then you have to like still.
Well, the thing is that there's a big difference between paying off a mystery and discovering that there is a mystery and discovering the details of the mystery.
Yeah,
because you can have a mystery that starts from episode 1 of a series,
Yeah.
But then something is revealed in season 2, and then something else is revealed in season 3, and then you finally have it resolved in season 5.
I think it's like Lost would probably be the big one where it's like that mystery, but it's like I feel like by the time when you drag a mystery out that long, like
Yes.
that's why so many people hate the way Lost ended, because it's like
Yeah.
it gets to a certain point where there's almost no way you could have made everyone happy with your final. And I'm not saying that's a problem
Yeah.
with the tower. I'm just saying that when you're talking long-term mystery, immediately what came to my mind was Lost. Like that, the whole
Yeah.
mystery took the entire series to fully reveal,
Mm-hmm.
and by the time they revealed it, most of the people are like, "That's it." Like
That's what it
there,
is?
There wasn't
Yeah.
more to it than that.
I think the big thing is that the difference between the Dark Tower and other things like Lost is that it's not a matter of what is the mystery. Like everyone is in agreeing that they need to go save the tower
Yeah.
and everything. Well, actually, you know what? That's one thing I did notice this read through. It's not save the tower until book 5. That's why I'm saying book 5 is the big reveal that we have to save the tower. Books 1 through 4, it's we need to get to the tower. It's not save the tower.
Yeah.
That changes after the accident, and when Roland reveals in book 5 that, hey, there's a problem with the tower and we need to go save it. The wolves are contributing to that problem, so that stands to support our cause.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why Roland is like, because Eddie has that conversation with him. Shouldn't we just, sorry, we can't help you. We need to get to the tower.
Yeah.
And Roland's like, no, that's not our way. Besides,
Yeah.
this serves our purpose. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, there's a problem at the tower. You don't get that until book 5.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's post accident that you start to get even any elements, and it's like because the Dark Tower. But I guess the question could be asked: is part of the charm of the Dark Tower that it is a mystery, and like that's why you ultimately don't know everything about the tower until those final pages, right? Like, like it's a mystery that is continually revealed,
right?
And it's like you don't ultimately know until that last line, even where it's
and
like, oh shit.
There's shows that do that where it's like you're unfurling one leaf at a time to expose the rose, to say, one petal at a time to reveal it and everything like that. But you can do that throughout the series, but not have it revealed until season 4, season 5 of the Dark Tower that, oh, there is a problem with the Dark Tower. We are facing an enemy, the Crimson King, which, by the way, not mentioned hardly at all in the first 5 books, really.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's in book 6 and it's like, oh shit, this guy's trying to destroy not just this world, but every world in existence on the tower.
Yeah.
So it's like all of a sudden the danger meter goes from, 5 to 5 billion.
I mean,
so
if you can't trust a Spider King, who can you trust?
Carol says, my concern is the season is so short these days, 6 to 8 episodes, sometimes with many not even getting to an hour. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm going to pause right there. Hold on. Let me finish her quote. That's the real challenge in a show. I know we are talking about movie attempts, or did I miss a 10 to 12 episode season announcement? No, Carol, you did not miss a 10 to 12 season episode announcement.
Flanagan talked about in one interview. I want to say it was 5 seasons and 2 movies is what his vision is. I believe we covered that at some point. But in terms of that was before a new Talisman book's coming out, potentially adding more to the whole thing. And then on top of that, we ultimately don't know. Does Amazon have a standard? I mean, I know it's not Amazon. I think my betting interest is that Amazon's probably who's going to get it because they're in the Flanagan business. But I'm trying to think, what was The Boys? Was that 10?
I'm literally
10 episodes?
looking up The Boys right now to see how many episodes per season.
I do agree with Carol. One of my biggest pet peeves is
8 episodes of The Boys season 1.
Okay. That is one of my big pet peeves is short episodes. And my other big pet peeve is it's like, the seasons have shrank to the point where you've got it's 6 to 8 episodes. They're, 20 to 40 minutes long each. And there's 3 or 4 years between each season. Now, I don't believe that Flanagan will do that for this. I think if nothing else, having a Jake actor is going to probably cause him to have to rush this. I feel like we're going to not rush in a bad way, but I do feel that we're probably going to once the first episode airs, I think within 5 to 7 years you're going to see that series wrapped. Like if it's 5 seasons long. So,
I just looked up Lord of the Rings,
Rings of Power,
the Rings of Power, and I just looked up The Wheel of Time.
Okay.
and The Boys,
And Fallout.
all 3 of those are 8 episodes.
8. Okay, so that's probably Amazon standard.
So if we're looking, so that's where it comes down to is if it is Amazon, there is no announcement, Carol, for where.
Yeah,
it
that's
is
just
gonna be.
that's just my
That's
big
just
assumption.
that is Tad's
Yeah.
big thing that he thinks
There's
that's
no there's no way they sign him to an exclusive deal. They're already in like the sci-fi fantasy realm.
Yeah.
So if Dark Tower fits their MO, why the fuck would they let him go anywhere else with this project? To me,
Yeah.
it would be insane.
I mean-
and they've already spent millions of dollars to get a pilot made
Yeah.
for Glenn Mazzara. Now they didn't like what Glenn Mazzara brought back,
Yeah.
but it's like they spent a lot, and that was how much closer to the movie, which didn't do well at the box office.
Yeah.
Like they still were into it. So like, there's just to me like I'm going to be stunned if it's not Amazon. But that aside,
Yeah.
what we're
Yeah. So seeing that it's eight episodes and everything like that, it
so
is
8 episodes times 5 seasons is what Flanagan originally said.
You're looking at 40 episodes
Yeah,
to tell the 7 Dark Tower,
and then 2 movies I think he said, which I do wonder if the movies are going to be
Wizard and Glass.
went through the keyhole.
and Wizard and Glass.
Maybe, yeah, that's tough. I don't know the 2 movies throw me off because it's like to me like because like also where does
my God.
where does Little Sisters of Illyria
Yeah.
fall? Like is that like something he's going to put into the series itself?
Watch it be Talisman 3. What if that's what King Slip was? Is like, oh, it's happening. Yeah, that's going to be involved with. Makes me optimistic. Peter here makes me think that King slipped right there.
I can't.
And he's just saying that what I'm writing is for Flanagan. I'm doing this on purpose so that Flanagan has more to put out with his series.
Yeah, I can't trust a hope, but can you imagine if we see Roland Deschain in the Talisman 3?
Oh, that would be so so cool.
I want to catch up back away. Brocky had it once said, then they made Jake seem like the true protagonist of the story
Yeah.
at first, and then the twist at the end of book 1 comes off like Papa Stark dying in the middle of the first season of Game of Thrones. Too soon. Let's see. Who do you trust? Ermont, that's who. Brocky. That's a good one. And then Agamorphy, but the seasons and episode length is really based on the choices of the showrunner, and that is true as well.
Yes.
I don't think Amazon sits there and says like you can only do 20 to 30-minute episode, 40-minute episodes. I think it really comes down to the showrunners, and I think Flanagan understanding how much content's in this story. I even wonder if the 8 episodes is it he's not going to be beholden to. If he says I need 13 episodes over 5 years, like is Amazon going to tell him no? I mean, it could be a budgetary question, but it's like ultimately, I have a feeling there's the runtime for sure that's a lot more leeway of Flanagan. That is up to him. I mean, we've seen House of the Dragon had hour and a half episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, so and Stranger Things is basically hyping that this final season that every
It's
episode
gonna be 2 hours.
Every episode is like at least 90 minutes long. So like full on movies.
Agamorphy says, I believe book 1 could be wrapped up in 1.5 episodes. I think it could be 1.
I think even 1.5 is cutting it close. I think, like I said, 3 to me feels like, and that is even like allowing yourself to breathe a little bit.
Let me
but
ask-
if you rush it, like or not rush it in a bad way, but if you were to be very brisk with it, I could see 2 episodes.
Let me ask a question. Does Tull need to be told?
Yeah, I think you got
no.
I think you
no,
got to establish Roland.
No, I don't think it does. Honestly, when you
Well,
as much as we love, I
remem-
love Dark Tower, and there's a reason I'm here. I love the Dark Tower.
But remember, Flanagan said just do the books, so we got to be careful.
I understand, but hear me out, okay? If we're looking at 8 episodes, and your choice is 7 episodes for Drawing of the 3, or only 6 episodes for Drawing of the 3, which one would you rather have?
Yeah, if Amazon's going to like box him into 8 episodes, then like
well, no, he did it himself. 5 seasons, right? You got to do Drawing of the 3 as a season. Like you can't do Drawing of the 3 over multiple seasons.
No. It'll be.
It'll have to be.
But I think
season
I think
1.
Gunslinger and Drawing of the 3 are a single season.
Right.
So
that's what I'm saying. Is that if you're going to say 2 episodes, you just said it, 2 episodes for book 1. Okay, that means that you're only leaving 6 episodes for Drawing of the 3.
If it's 8, yeah.
If it is 8, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it could be more. He could do 10 and everything like that.
And then Hagamorphy says Tull. Yes, it screams Flanagan.
Here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing about Tull. Do we really gain anything from that aside from seeing that Roland's a badass?
Which you got to have. You got to establish that.
Okay, you can establish that under the mountain with the slow mutants. You want to see him be a badass? Great. Save Jake from the Oracle.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm just saying.
I think
we were just talking with this guy's point. If you want to remove the anti and the hero-ness from Roland, Tull's the thing that needs to go. Then.
Well, no, he's not saying that even that you want to remove that.
No,
He's
I'm just saying. That's what we're discussing, though, right? Is like if Roland is supposed to be the hero and you want him to be the hero and everything like that. I mean, I get it.
Flanagan is doing Tull. It is just so Flanagan. Now, the only thing I'll add to say it's so Flanagan is there are going to be cats there.
Of course, because Flanagan and cats. My gosh, I don't know what
Although
his thing is.
He's starting to get kind of touchy with that. I've seen some stuff where people bring cats up, and he's starting to get way more touchy about it. So I feel like it's actually getting to him a little bit.
I'm just saying that if you start episode 1 with him arriving at the way station, and maybe what if you don't even show Tull? What if you just have him tell Jake that he just massacred an entire town, and then they get the skull. So this is episode 1. They get the skull, they move on from the mountain, they encounter the Oracle, they go under the mountain, and at the end of the first episode, he drops Jake and goes to the Palaver, and that's how you start episode 2.
Yeah, I think Tull will probably be the first big set piece. I think we're going to start in the desert. Flanagan's already said that. You start where the book started, so it'll be in the desert, and it's like, so cool, you're going to get the desert, you're going to get some, like, Lawrence of Arabia shots, and I think the next thing you're going to get is Tull, and then you're just going to briskly move from Tull to Way Station to...
So you think Flanagan's going to go out of order then?
No, I mean, you could. It's easy to like adapt it to where it's like you're jumping, because I think he will jump around time like King did too.
Yeah,
like where because King's so proud of that I can't imagine that Flanagan's not going to be like, I want to do that too.
Degloved hands and 90-degree camera flips. Yeah, that is Flanagan to a T.
That's probably going to be in Tull too, right? We do know that.
I'm not a book 1 hater. I'm nuts. I love book 1. I'm
going to say the showdown of the Traveler's Rest. Yeah. I think that's going to turn into degloving the slingshot.
Oh, of course.
Fingers.
Yeah.
It's going to be a degloving.
Yeah.
Carol says, I agree with Amazon, I guess. I don't know what's going to happen, of course, but I'm watching regardless and hope everyone does so they keep it going.
Yeah.
I agree. That's probably my biggest fear is like we get a green light, it gets going, but then like it just doesn't get a following. Like that's... Because then, like, that's the danger with movies or shows is, like, they just get canceled.
Yep.
So, God forbid. So then he goes on with this and says, look, the smart thing to do in 2017 would have been just jump straight to the drawing of the 3, which is the second Dark Tower of the Dark Tower series, and treating the stuff between Roland and Jake as a tragic prologue. Jake re-enters the pictures in the picture in book 3, but things are in motion for him to be reunited with Roland by the end of book 2. And Roland, importantly, draws in other members of his eventual quartet, including Eddie, Dean, and Susanna, the latter being a woman who's already has 2 other personalities, Detta and Odetta. Sounds confusing? It gets worse. Susanna, Detta, Odetta are possessed by another woman called Mia at one point, but more on that later. What matters most is that Eddie and Susanna are essential for the rest of the series, but don't really swing into the narrative until book 2. The dynamic changes drastically here and for the best, but you don't. But do you have to sit through a film or a series of episodes where Roland lacks humanity and starts to gain after he gets some endearing and interesting human companions? And that's why I said, again, like 2-3 episodes, like that's not much to ask people. Like think of like WandaVision, like doing like the black and white episodes, because there's a lot of young people that are just so off put by black and white, whatever. Like 2 episodes, but then after that, by that point, you're jumped into like, oh, it's color. See, like I just have a feeling that like getting Eddie within like easily the first 5 episodes, not even a doubt. Like you're probably going to have both he and Susanna on the table within the first 5 episodes, which is going to be important, I think.
Yeah.
I think the one that'll be interesting to go and rewatch is like Game of Thrones. Like how do they unfold that first season? Like how much time does it take to like, you know, for different various characters to show up and I don't know. I know it's.
I mean, you get the shock of Jamie and Cersei in episode 1.
Yeah.
So you have something that, you know, like draws you back for episode 2.
But
like, oh my God.
I want to say it's like mid-season before you start getting into the realm of like finding out the actual conspiracy that the kids are not, you know, all of the palace intrigue and stuff. So like what really drives the season?
Yeah, I mean they get to they don't get down to the castle till episode 2 or 3, you know.
Yeah. They should have got some of those late season horses that do it in like, you know, a couple scenes. Oh, I'm talking shit now. And Carol says drawing the 3 is my favorite. Yeah, I mean that's why we're here, because like that's what ultimately made me a Dark Tower fan is book 2, and if book 4 wasn't so goddamn strong, it would be my number 1 to be book 2.
Yeah.
It's so good. Number 3, the idea of having multiple personalities conversing in one body, and this is an interesting struggle, and it's not necessarily Odetta and Detta, which is what I was originally thinking.
Is it Roland?
It says introducing the drawing of the 3 and escalating to Songs of Susanna. It says so the multiple people and bodies at one is one thing, as seen by Detta, Odetta, Susanna, Mia, most prominently in Songs of Susanna. You can lay that out on a page, but if you're listening to an audio, or if you're listening to on an audiobook and a reader does some voices, you can kind of make it work there. But how are you going to do that? These kind of conversations on screen, the logistics would be kind of frustrating. And then this is the more interesting part. Whatever you pick, you have to do it consistently and hope that viewers catch on. Some of the drawing of the 3's best moments have to do with Roland hijacking Eddie's body while the latter is in the middle of risky drug smuggling operation. It's funny, tense, and mind-blowing to read it happening, but it's the sort of thing that just might look too chaotic were they to attempt to convey all those things wonderful contrasting emotions once they do the whole thing in live action. That's a problem I've wondered about for a long time. How are you going to do that whole, like Roland in the, like, I almost always visualize it like a dark closet, and it's like the more he moves forward, the more control he has over Eddie. Like, how do you convey that? Like, Eddie's eyes changing is going to be awesome. Like, King was brilliant with that, because, like, that's just cinematic. Like, you're going to be able to tell as a viewer when Roland's in charge or not. But it's like, when you see it from Roland's side and he's, like, watching from the door, like, that's one thing, but it's like that middle ground where it's like Roland's like in the mind but in the back, and he's just sorting through to find like information versus like moving all the way to the front and taking over. I've wondered since I read that, like, how do you do that on screen? That's going to be weird.
I think the big thing
and the
is,
conversations, like, oh, answer, like when he's yelling at Eddie in his mind. Like, how do you do that?
Agamorphy says multiple personalities is a snap. Lord of the Rings Golem.
Yeah.
That's one way of doing it. You also have
Detta and Odetta. That'll be it.
Yeah.
It'll be the actor that will have to like show, and then Mia later.
The facial expression is going to be the huge thing, because that's the big thing that Andy Serkis did, and obviously the CGI guys with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
You very well could tell the difference. If I pulled up a picture right now and I went, this one or this one, you're going to be like, that's Smeagol, that's Gollum. You're going to know the difference because of the performance that was given. The voice thing, dude, that's easy. Venom. Eddie!
Just disembodied voice.
Disembodied voice for Roland. That's all you got to do for Roland.
Yeah. So you do disembodied voice for both sides when they're talking, like when Eddie's thinking in his mind to talk. I mean, it's just,
for me, it just seems easy. Like, that's the logical choice.
It is, but we also know the stories. Is that going to work for your wife, for instance? It's never read these before. Like, and I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying it is a concern where it's like,
it's something that you have to. It's a mechanic that you have to figure out and everything like that. But the great thing is that we, like you already said, you already solved the biggest problem with the Eddie and Roland bit. Is that how do you know when Roland's in charge? Blue eyes.
The eyes, yeah.
That's a cakewalk. The fact that Stephen King already built that into the story, you don't have to worry about it then.
Yeah.
And so you just do the disembodied voice, like I said with Venom. It just makes sense to me. Answer. You already kind of did it. Answer. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Can I get a pop kit? That's what you do. Is that you have that, and I think Flanagan could handle that.
I think Venom's good that's come out, as much as I hate that character, because that kind of acclimates audiences to the idea of like multiple voices in a single body.
Yeah.
But I grant what he's talking about, though. That isn't necessarily the easiest.
No, it's not a cakewalk. And with Mia, it's even easier because it's a different character.
Yeah.
You're going to have a different actress that's going to play Mia. She's
Yeah.
going to have 3-4 scenes where she's going to have to be on camera. If you're staying true to the book,
Yeah.
which apparently I'm not allowed to say that we can't differentiate from the book at all.
Peter's getting defensive. Peter's getting upset. Oh, I love it. Let's see. Brock says the power of the series is Roland's tragedy. That his entire development arc is reset, and all he learned is for nothing. That goes away without showing the development. Book one's important in establishing that development start point for the character, and that's for I think for me, like, because like the badassery of Roland, when it comes, going back to the Tull conversation, the badassery, there's two aspects. There's the badassery of Roland, but also the fact that he is kind of like a gray, if not black hat, right? Like, and I think that like the slow mutants, that's too easy to like, if you do that, like, cool, you show his badassery, but it's showing, he'll look like more of a white hat. and I think you'll lose some of the element of like, and suddenly the audiences might be shocked when he lets Jake drop, and it's like, wait, what the fuck just happened? Like when he massacres a whole town, like your established audience to be like, whoa, we can't trust this guy, and they'll be on edge as much as when Jake starts to like sense like you're gonna let me die. Yeah. Like the audiences will be the same. They'll be like, dude, kid, I fucking worry for you.
I mean, here's the thing though, is that you don't have to establish all that. You don't have to be like, like grab the audience by the nose and drag them to the conclusion and everything like that. I can name one movie off the top of my head that established a character by walking into a room, and that's episode 4 of Star Wars. The second that Vader showed up on screen, you knew that's not a guy to fuck with. That's a bad guy. I am not fucking with him. And that's what I'm saying, is that you don't have to show everything up front. Book 1 can be an entire flashback to Eddie and Susanna in season 3. When he's going mad, he can tell them the story. You establish Roland as a good guy. He has a bad past. He's done some bad things, but he's an anti-hero. He's a hero, though. You see the good already that he's built up, and then you show the bad that he did. They do that a lot with characters, where it's like Punisher is a good one. I mean, obviously, I'm rewatching Daredevil right now. It's like, oh my gosh, this guy's so bad. But you reveal the details later. You don't do it. You don't shove the audience's face in it right away. And so that's all I'm saying, is that it doesn't have to be season 1, episode 1 of the Dark Tower has to be the massacre of Tull. It has to be Tull. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not hating on book 1. I'm just saying that it doesn't have to be the first thing we see.
I don't think it'll be the first, because Flanagan's already said like he wants that Lawrence of Arabia desert opening stuff.
I mean first episode.
But I think it'll be the first thing after the desert, in my opinion, because I think like there you establish like how badass Roland is, but also his moral ambiguity.
Yeah.
And so I think like Brown might get lost. I don't know that necessarily we'll run into Brown and Zoltan. I would love to see them. Yeah. But like if you're looking at stuff in book 1, I think that would be way more apt to potentially disappear than Tull. Like Brown. Like, do you really need Brown and Zoltan? I mean, Zoltan's lovely... The training
session with Court, Hacks the Cook.
That one I'm curious. Are you going to be able to show that? Because, like, again, you're going to have to cast a young Roland to play in the 4th book stuff. Mm-hmm. So, like, are you legit going to cast a kid to play Roland for that scene there, and then potentially have to wait years for that same kid to then play? I mean, unless you age him up, which then it might work out fine.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing, is that when the Hacks the Cook stuff happens, he is younger.
Yeah.
And then you have book 4 where he's 14.
God, kids are so like terrible in that way that like they age, right? Like it's always easy, like, oh, Bart Simpson, he's been 10 years old for almost 40 years now. But it's like when you got real kids, it's like, God damn it, they age to the point where it's like kind of like, I mean, Stranger Things is running into that. These kids, they're all in their 20s.
We talked about it yesterday on our hangout, because we did a dream casting for the Dead Zone, and I cast one of the Stranger Thing kids. He's 23.
Yeah,
he's playing a high schooler.
Yeah,
I know it's been done for decades.
Yeah, I cast Jacob Tremblay, and it threw you off. I'm like, dude, he's 20.
I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, like he's not that little 12-year-old anymore.
Brocky says King thought it was important. I think it's important. Agamorphy says I can see Roland telling Brown about Tull. I am not saying that Tull's not important. I am saying Tull's may not be the most important thing to show up front.
Yeah.
I don't think that Tull needs to be the start of the series. That's all I'm saying. We've said it before. If you don't think someone is going to be able to get through book 1 because it is a bit of a slog for some people, start them with book 2.
Yeah.
Fish hook them in.
But that won't work for a series, though, because, like, King had, like, the argument at the beginning that recapped the previous. Like, you're not going to have that. You need to capture your audience, kind of like Game of Thrones, right? Like, those first couple episodes are why people became fans, because it's like, holy shit, like, what is this show?
But if you start with the way station and finding Jake, the Slow Mutants, the Oracle, dropping Jake, and the Palaver, you don't think that's not going to catch an audience? Do you think Tull is the only thing that's going to catch an audience? That's all I'm saying.
I almost think that we're going to get like Jake might be at the tail end of episode 1, and then like episode 2 will be largely like, okay, what does Jake's death look like? You're going to show the flash of that show, New York City, and then suddenly it's like, people are going to be reeling like, wait, what the fuck? Like New York City? Like I know that like I know that street. Like I've seen that.
Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, like so you start getting into that weird mind bending stuff by the second episode. And then I think, then like throughout that you're going to get like all the way through the Slow Mutants and all that kind of shit. And then like Jake's death and Flag will be the 3rd episode potentially, if you do 3 episodes, which is what I'm kind of thinking. And then you've got the rest of the season for book two to
Yeah.
because then Eddie's on the table within a couple episodes, 4 episodes.
Fourth episode.
Fourth
episode should be where Eddie, off that timeline that you're saying,
Yes.
is where Eddie should show up.
Yeah.
Because you should have Roland get attacked by the lobstrosities after waking up on the edge of the clean sea.
Yeah.
And then getting to the first door. That should be that first episode.
Yeah, for
and I
sure.
think the end of that episode is when he opens up that door and sees the sky and freaks out. And then the start of the next episode is, "You saw more, maggot." So maybe even that's
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe that's where you end the.
I think each door each door will be a full episode, I bet you. But then, of course, there's some episodes in between. Like, all the stuff between door 2 and 3 is going to be an episode or two, probably, because there's a lot going on there. Maybe an episode. But I do think each door will be a full episode. And, like, that'll probably even, like, Flanagan will probably title those, like, Death, Lady of Shadows, and Prisoner. Like, that'll probably be the episode titles, right, would be my guess.
Yeah. Baraki says that is what is so hard about adapting this series. 10 people would produce 10 wildly different adaptations. Yeah,
It's true.
absolutely.
It's true. So his next one, number 4, there's a good deal of wheel spinning. Some of it even happens on a train is his subtitle. He says, here's where things might get controversial. Book number 3, The Wastelands, is important in bringing back Jake, even if it's a bit convoluted and not as fun as the recruiting of Eddie or Odetta, which I don't know if I'd agree with that, his assessment that it's convoluted. I think that I love book 3 a lot.
Yeah.
Oi enters the picture, and it's hard not to love him. There's a giant robot bear. The world of Midworld is expanded a bit more by introducing some more people who live and suffer there, and that's a good addition.
Yeah.
Live and suffer there. But not a great deal of consequence happens, and things conclude on a train called Blame the Mono. They will crash unless they can stump him with a riddle. They do, but you'll have to wait until book 4, Wizard and Glass, to find out how. Then about 80% of the book 4 ends up being flashbacks brought about by Roland telling his backstory, and still leaves certain details out. It doesn't take readers up to where he is exactly at the start of the Gunslinger, which is wild when a flashback is 500 or more pages. Wizard and Glass also ends with a bit of a whimper, and I don't agree with that at all.
What?
Book number 3 and 4 have their moments, but doing direct adaptation could result in a situation where people start to lose interest a little following the 1-2 punch of Wasteland and Wizard and Glass. And I don't know if that's real. I don't think there's a problem once you get down the line in these books. Like, now,
how can you say
how you handle the flashbacks is probably the biggest question.
Yeah,
because you got a Jake actor, so it's a matter of, like, how are you really going to pause an entire season and basically tell the backstory of Roland?
And the only time he shows up is when they take breaks in the story to go take a leak.
So suddenly, like, now that Jake actor is going to look a year older by the time you actually move into book 5. Again, kids are tough, man. I don't get how shows do it, because they all deal with it, right? Like, most sitcoms are kind of in a timeless zone where, like, how many Halloween episodes do you get? But it sucks when it's live action because everyone ages.
Yeah.
So, and kids are the worst because kids age so drastically.
I can't agree with his thing saying that book 3 and 4 has nothing for the audience, and that maybe where they get bogged down. You're talking about the kidnapping of a character that is probably going to be the second most beloved character in the series. Right behind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right behind is going to be Jake.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell you right now, Jake is going to be a fan favorite. If Flanagan has his way and everything goes the way that we expect it to, I can guarantee you that Jake is going to be a fan favorite.
Yeah.
And to say that
this is the point of his I probably disagree with the most. Yeah. I think and again, it's all a matter of taste, and everyone has it's all subjective. Like, it's whatever. But in my mind, like,
the kidnapping of Jake is 2-3 episodes easy, and then you get onto Blaine and you have the riddle contest. That's another episode of oh shit, we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
And then you get to Kansas, and if we're not doing the flashback, I mean, we already joked about it earlier.
I don't know how they're going to do it.
What if you're going to do the flashback as the movie?
Which
would make a lot of sense, because then you have an entirely different cast
and crew that
goes and does the movie. And you have these actors that are doing the series do a scene for it.
And it makes me happy because you're looking at right now where Flanagan's got, like, a Carrie thing in the offing. Yeah. He's got The Exorcist, all this kind of stuff. And he's juggling all this, because that makes me think that he could be the showrunner running the 3rd season. And then in the break between seasons 3 and 4, maybe he already has season 4 written. He then goes and already has the movie ready to go, to where he goes runs the filming in that break between, and then he's like, I mean, Spielberg did it too, right?
Spielberg did Schindler's List and Jurassic Park at the same time.
Pretty much at the same time. So it's like, I just wonder if he could do that in a way to where it's like season 4, like you could kind of like have an episode where it's like Roland telling the story, but it's a matter of like, hey, the movie is the story he tells. He tells the quartet, even though we don't see it necessarily in the show. We would go watch the movie, and then you just go on with the series. Like it would be tough. Like I'm getting like ulcers thinking about the stress involved there. But like Flanagan's already kind of doing it. Like he's juggling a lot of crazy shit right now.
Honestly, it'd be really funny as fuck if they took a couple-year break to do the movie and everything.
They can't.
And then listen. And then they come out of it, and at the start of the new season, and he's just like, dude, how long were we listening? Look at fucking Jake. And he's like 6 feet tall and, has a beard. He's 22 looking.
Oh, man. It's like, and then like they've asked over the years, they've asked the Simpsons people why they haven't done another movie since, that's been 2007. And they're like, because we didn't realize how hard it was going to be to make a movie while we were still making seasons of television. He's like, basically between 2 seasons, we squished all of the work of the movie between there. And it like, we all wanted to die by the end of it because it was basically like 3 solid years of just nonstop work. There was no like breather. And it's like, that's what Flanagan's probably in for if you're going to do one of the movies is going to be Wizard and Glass, like the flashback portion. Next, his next one, number 5, what to do with Wind Through the Keyhole, to adapt or not to adapt. Again, I truly believe this is one of the films. The Dark Tower series blends Western, sci-fi, fantasy genres, plus a little in the way of horror, action, adventure for good measure. The Wind Through the Keyhole, considered by many to be book 4.5 of the series, though it is written after book 7, which concludes the whole story, leans heavier in the into the fantasy side of things, having a bit of intentional fairy tale feel. Once more, Roland tells another damn story, though it ends up being a layered one, because within this story, there's another story that's told. It's not a bad King novel, and it's nice catching up with these characters again after an emotionally devastating book 7. But is it essential? Is it worth skipping for the series adaptation?
Yes.
Would people be offended if it was left out? Would you do it as a weird epilogue reflected in the fact that Wind Through the Keyhole came out 8 years after the final Dark Tower book? Again, at least some of those questions would be kind of tricky for anyone wanting to adapt this mammoth series. I think the timing, I think his best part of the question there is the timing. Like, if you're going to do Wind Through the Keyhole as one of the 2 movies, do you actually do that after, like, the series is wrapped and it's, like, the coda, not even a coda, because it's not really, like, it's middle of the story. Like, do you do it like King did and you just do that final movie? And
you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. You can't put
there's no time.
You can't put the movie especially if book 4 is the other movie.
Yeah.
You cannot put the series on hold for 2 movies.
No.
You can't. You absolutely can't. I'll tell you right now, any momentum that you have will be derailed. You will lose 80% of your followers.
That's why I always tell people online.
The only 20% that'll be left will be us, constant readers.
Yeah, I always tell people online that are first-time reading, and they always ask, like, hey, when should I read Wind Through the Keyhole? I'm like, absolutely not after book 4. I'm like, the loss of momentum of book 4, stop me in my tracks. I'm like, if that book had existed and I picked that one up and it was another fucking not moving forward,
I would have never finished
the
Dark
Tower. No, that would have been the end of it for me. So,
Carol says casting Jake could be rough. Yes, skip it. Talking about Wind Through the Keyhole. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brocky says, I mean, couldn't they go from the crossing of the cradle and tell Blaine about Ludd and make a quick flashback?
For in terms of for book 4,
I don't know.
Because I do honestly think what he'll end up doing is actually staging it to where, like, he'll film the movie in between 2 seasons and it won't actually break up. Like, I don't think we'll see a delay. I think if they're a year apart from each season, I don't think 3 and 4 are going to have any difference in it. I think it's just going to be the movie he does in the break that's between the 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So,
Agamorphia, I like your idea. Skip it. Talking about Wind Through the Keyhole, except as a special episode, a Dark Tower tale, post-series, the fairy tale by itself, and then the Skinwalker story by itself, and the Sisters of Eluria by itself.
Yeah.
There's 3 episodes right there for a Dark Tower tale. Fuck, give me the Battle of Jericho Hill. There's 4. There's 4 right there for the Dark Tower tales.
Yeah.
I mean, I have things written down. I don't remember where I put it. Where
let's do a Calvin Tower tale. It's just a whole
Dude, what about the freaking tech corporation?
No, I know. I was just trying to get to you there and say a full, couple-hour movie of Calvin Tower being Calvin Tower.
No.
That would be fun. Number 6. This is actually probably one that I'm most concerned about. The legal difficulties of working in iconography from other franchises. The Wolves of the Kala works in Star Wars, Harry Potter, and Marvel with Star Wars, Harry Potter, and Marvel imagery. Early in the Dark Tower series, there's an idea that there are different worlds, and these things from different worlds can enter others. This is how Roland gets much of his quartet, of course, and it's also something that's made very apparent in Book 5. The Wolves of the Kala, the main antagonists here, have weapons and equipment found from other properties, like lightsabers from Star Wars and snitches/sneeches from Harry Potter. Also, while wearing uniforms that make them look like Marvel's Doctor Doom, which suddenly that is a lot more relevant.
Yeah, that's a lot more poignant in the zeitgeist now.
Yeah, getting permission to have things like this in a book is one thing, which I don't think you do in a book. You just write it. There's no such thing as you're not infringing on someone's trademark by having your novel include Doctor Doom costumes. But today, when brands like Harry Potter, Star Wars, and the MCU are so popular across multiple medias, could an adaptation of The Dark Tower get permission for all of them? It would be costly at best. You could ignore that aspect of things, sure, but it's a big moment in The Wolves of the Call. It ties to further breakdown between worlds and stories that happen during the book's ending.
Look,
then later in 6 and 7. And I think Flanagan's already talked about this. He's talked about how, I'm already doing some work on, talking to, there's ownership with a lot of different, and we're not even just talking about this stuff. Fucking Father Callahan belongs to Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
that's
Salem's Lot just came out.
Yeah, and they've done both TV and movies, so it's not even one of those weird things like Spider-Man where sometimes the rights get split between movies and television.
Yeah,
Warner Brothers has done both television and movie of Salem's Lot, so it's they own Father Callahan. Yeah. So it's using that's Ted Brodigan. There's a lot of things that are within the King realm, let alone you talk about the Star Wars, Marvel, and Harry Potter.
Yeah, and it's really simple to fix that with the Harry Potter and everything like that. Is wherever you're doing this, Flanagan, you take 3 of the corresponding series, and there you go. That's the weapons. Give them a pistol from Fallout. If you're doing Amazon, give them a pistol from Fallout. Give them a mask from Lord of the Rings.
Wasn't is Harry Potter Warner Brothers too?
Yes.
Because here's the thing, Flanagan did some stuff like Dr. Sleep with Warner Brothers, so I kind of wonder if
we talked about this already. He's got 2 out of the 3 right there, and I'm telling you right now, all you got to do is instead of making the Wolves of the Kala, make it a wolf from Lord of the Rings. Yeah,
there's any number of things.
The orcs of the Kala.
Yeah.
Something like that. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. Besides, Amazon has deep pockets; they could just pay whatever.
And besides, the Wolves of the Kala, they're wolves. The wolves thing isn't trademarked. It's the green hood. Who the fuck cares about a green hood? I don't care about the Doctor Doom thing. I really don't. If they're just wolves with lightsabers and sneeches, cool.
Yeah.
That's my favorite fucking book, and I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
And
then the next
one,
I
don't think that's a big deal.
The next one is similar, the intense overlapping with other King stories. This could be difficult legally speaking. He says there's an increasing number of references to other Stephen King stories throughout the Dark Towers books. The Stands, Randall Flagg is a big one. Obviously, King has free reign to reference whatever he pleases in his own books. Like with the other properties from other franchises, though, doing references in live action might be costly if different groups own different rights to different King stories for the purposes of adaptations. Even then, if you were to get permission to reference any away, that would put an expectation on viewers to keep up or feel like they have to do homework. And honestly, pausing to say, a lot of people have been disappointed with some of the more recent Marvel stuff because if they don't watch the TV shows, they feel like they're kind of left out. And I don't get references now because I didn't watch 16 hours of Disney Plus shows.
You talked about it yesterday when we were hanging out, that you went and watched Daredevil, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to watch Daredevil season 1, 2, and 3. And you're like, wait, what the fuck happened between Daredevil season 2 and 3? And you ended up having to look it up. It's been so long since you've watched it. Defenders happened.
Yeah.
And characters died in that. So it's like, wait, what happened? Oh, I have to go watch that to be able to watch the 3rd season of this series?
Yeah.
That is something to be mindful of.
And then he mentions Father Callahan as well, which is not an insignificant character in the Dark Tower. Of course, I would argue that's more important than he is in Salem's Lot even.
Yeah.
So.
Agamorphy says, and Potter is being rebooted as we speak. Will they use canon or rebooted sneeches? I mean, a snitch is a snitch. In
what is
Harry
it? Is
Potter.
it? Did they mispronounce it in Dark Tower?
They mispronounced it in Dark Tower.
Okay, which is fine.
It's a snitch.
Okay.
SNITCH.
So then it's legally not infringing, then, right?
It's a sneeches. Yeah.
It's a sneech. It's not a snitch.
Yeah.
Snitches
Wait, is it
stitches.
I'm doubting myself now.
Oh no, Peter's gone cross-eyed. Oh man. Robert,
No, it is a sneech. It is. I'm wrong. No, that's the Dark Tower wiki. Son of a bitch.
Robert says you could just use the blood-sucking orbs from Phantasm, and now you're speaking my language.
There you go.
That would be wonderful. Let's see if I missed anything else in the chat. Sorry, guys. You guys are really active.
It is a snitch. Okay, the snitch in Harry Potter, sneech in the Dark Tower. So he didn't even cross the line there. He just...
Yeah.
But it does say, the fucking Harry Potter model on the box. So
you might have to remove things like that. And like
Yeah.
lightsabers.
All you do is you just say lightning bolt model, and that's all you say, because
Yeah.
Harry Potter has a lightning bolt
Yeah.
scar on his
Yeah.
forehead. You don't even have to say Harry Potter model.
And like with the thing,
There's
you just,
ways around
You
it.
just do laser swords. They're not lightsabers.
yeah,
like,
they're laser swords.
make it look different a little bit. Make
it
them
look like the fucking dark saber.
make them look like a katana or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, like just you know make it Kmart versions.
Yeah.
And then like number 8, then he goes on. The things get ridiculously meta and in a potentially alienating way. So we know where this is going.
He's talking about Stephen King showing up as Stephen King.
Character. It says King has written the hell out of some stories that ended up making for great movies, but he's never been quite as involved in an adaptation like Dark Tower would be. He's had small roles and cameos in movies over the years, but in Song of Susanna, King becomes a full-on character, someone that's able to write the story that the characters are currently living through, which we all love that as Dark Tower fans. But yes, that will be confusing.
It will be like huh?
Like what? But also, there's part of me that wonders: is it King, or do you change it and make it Mike Flanagan?
Oh, that would be amazing.
Which gets into like the Freddy. There's the one Freddy sequel where they stop making Freddy movies. So the whole premise is Freddy's coming out into the real world to like attack like the producers that have decided.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never seen anything. I've seen the very first Nightmare on Elm Street, and I've seen Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, so it kind of gets in that realm where it's like Freddy is like mad that they're not going to make Freddy movies anymore, so he starts like killing like actors and stuff. So it kind of gets into that realm a little bit. Then he kind of talks a little bit about like, just casting King, like you're not going to, obviously King's like in his 70s, so you're not going to be able to use the real Stephen King. Of course, his son looks just like him.
His son looks exactly like him.
Bill Hader has also been thrown out there as a great mimic. So, although I do think Bill Hader's a good Dandelo.
He would be an amazing Dandelo.
And then number 9, a major villain near the end is a spider baby. And basically, his premise here is just that it's kind of he calls it Lovecraftian in a sense where it's like it's something that works great in a book, but when you actually have to put it on screen, is it going to be a problem because it's suddenly not? Now I trust Flanagan. Flanagan's done some pretty cool shit, but I will say he's not far from the truth that some of the stuff, like we had some good animations of Mordred, but ultimately seeing it on screen and moving, like suddenly that's where like a still picture can look cool, but then suddenly when it starts to move, it's like, that doesn't look very real or whatever.
Spiders are easy to do.
But this, I think it's the transformation and like some of the like. I think that's ultimately.
Okay. Here's the thing. That is such a minute amount of time.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that caught me off guard in my most recent read through with the Dark Tower. How little he is a baby. He's a kid by the time they get to Algociento.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the time they get there, he's an adolescent, and then when they get to the Empathica and Eddie and Jake are gone.
Yeah.
He's an adult.
I think I think what you do is you just go straight. It's he's either a kid or a human or a spider. Don't cross it in any way. Mm-hmm. Just make it a full on fucking were spider or a fucking kid that's like the remake of The Omen. The evil looking fucking kid that's all sickly looking and stuff.
Yeah.
Like just do that. Like don't have a crossover. Just make it, I don't know.
No transformation.
I mean, unless you just wanted to do like a werewolf type transformation where it's just like that weird, like, but like, I don't know. I feel like in the Dark Tower it drags out a little bit to where there's times where you see him like, and it's like kind of both. Like there's like baby elements and spider elements and like,
no, that's the thing is like there's not. There's the spider. There's the spider and there's the baby. It's one or the other. King makes it very perfectly clear that he's either one or the other. He's not a half-breed. He's not in between.
He's a were
He's
spider.
literally going in between his human form, which comes from Roland, or his spider form, which comes from the Crimson King.
Yeah.
The only thing is that the red heel on the baby signifies the spider, and
Yeah.
then the baby's face on the abdomen of the spider signifies the human in the spider.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's going to be that hard to do. I think it's just you're going to... And the baby, again, literally 2 scenes. That's all you have to do, because
Yeah.
what's scarier than a monster that you don't see? We've learned this.
Yeah.
It's terrifying when you don't know what's out there.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now,
Just
number one
Just
scene
give me some disembodied glowing red eyes.
number one scene that I think about is the fucking coyote that Roland and Jake find when they're looking down on Agosiento.
Yeah.
Arr!
Yeah. So
It just
yeah.
gets cut off, mid howl and everything
Yeah.
like that. And then the next morning, Jake gets up and finds Roland outside. He's like, "Here, let me show you this." And they go out there, and there's this sucked dry coyote.
Yeah.
What? You don't see Mordred.
Yeah.
What's scarier than that?
Yeah, no, it's the Jaws effect.
The only thing that you have to have, as with Baby Mordred, the only scene that's required, there's 2 scenes that are required for Baby Mordred. That's his birth, eating his mother, and eating Flag.
No.
Those are the only
We
things
could
that
skip-
are
we could
required.
skip that. We
don't need to skip
that. If we could skip Tull.
If we're leaving Tull in, we're leaving Flag's eyeballs getting eaten, all right?
No.
He's going to pull his own fucking eye
I'm going to
off.
wear a black armband after that.
RF.
Yeah, my life for him. And then the last one here, number 10, parts of the ending are divisive and even a little ridiculous. He says deliberately anticlimaxes and strange showdowns with the Crimson King. Throughout the Dark Tower series, the infamous Crimson King is alluded to and eventually spoken about, but not really seen until the end of the final book. This article so far has generally stayed away from big spoilers and will continue to do so, but what can be said is the inevitable confrontation with the Crimson King, and then in parentheses, come on, it really is inevitable, so it's not a spoiler, is a bit wild. It really is. The notion that he is the biggest and most fearsome villain is done away with a little based on how he acts or based on what he's not able to do with the whole sequence, walking a line between absolute hilarity and devastatingly anticlimactic. Things recover in the final couple of chapters after the big showdown are good, but having to repeat the whole spectacle of wait, that was the Crimson King? We've been told to fear this for several book/movie/TV seasons now is going to be exhausting for anyone who's already sat through all the drama and controversy before. Which, yeah, I mean, I think that's always going to be even the Flag thing. Flag gets built up as a villain, like when him being like, and again, I don't disagree, like, because again, real life doesn't sometimes get the big showdown that Hollywood's trained us, right? And I think that's what King was trying to allude to.
There was no final battle between the Japanese Pacific Fleet and the American fleet. The Americans wanted it.
Yeah.
The Japanese Navy wanted it. They wanted to go
Yeah.
out in a blaze of glory, but it never happened.
No, how often does that happen where
It doesn't happen.
you don't get your climactic battle in
No.
real life like you do in the movies. So the only thing I wanted to add here at the end or question, just give me a couple things if you have any. What are absolute musts? Like close-fisted, the series has to have. What are things you would be non-negotiable on?
I mean, the riddle contest. Blaine,
yeah.
Like, I don't know how you do this without Blaine.
Yeah.
Like, if you try and take Blaine out, like, that
Yeah.
just...
And for me, I would say the Stephen King thing, or a version of it. I want to say Agamorphy also said, I said this before, the author in this show should be named Richard Bachman. It could, and it should be no more meta than that. No Joe Hill. I mean, there's any number of things you could do for sure. But I love that because this series is so batshit. We talked earlier about looking through the Eddie door and seeing a 747, seeing Jake in book 1 and realizing, oh, he came from New York of our world. Like, there's a lot of batshit stuff. So I don't get why the King thing is so hard for people. Like, I love that. And then also the ending has got to be the ending.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for me,
him waking up in the desert has to be the ending.
Yeah.
Like, and I have no doubt in Flanagan with that.
He's not gonna.
One of the things we got to have Susanna with multiple personalities.
Yeah.
I could very easily see them being like, no, we're not going to do that because we have Mia later on, so we'll just have Mia and Susanna and everything like that.
You need it because
you have to have
book
that.
2. You don't have it. There's no threat if she's not.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, like that's
you
have
Roland's and
the
that's
poison,
why,
I guess.
and that's why I'm saying it's a necessity.
Yeah.
That is a necessity.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, if they don't have then I'm not watching.
There's no way, dude.
Hey, you asked what's
I know.
Roland's a necessity. Eddie's a necessity. You know, like there's lots of things that are a necessity.
I know, but yeah, Oi, like I think Flanagan would have to like go hide in a bunker if he was to make this without Oi.
I think Agamorphy says Susanna Detta must be black. I mean, we've talked about that before. Is like, especially with like Idris Elba becoming black. Like, how does that work with a Susanna Detta and everything like that? If they cast a black Roland,
yeah,
you know, we talked about that when the movie and Idris got cast and everything.
Yeah.
Other things that I think have to happen. I mean, you have to save the beam.
Yeah.
You have to show that the tower's okay.
And there was also that Flanagan thing where he's like, you know, if you can't get, you know, certain rights, then you have to start looking for things you can get.
Yes.
And it made us wonder, is a Dan Torrance maybe a Ted Brodigan replacement?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Dude,
fucking,
I'll tell you right now.
Ewan McGregor showing up in the tail end of this series.
I'll tell you right now. You want to blow everyone's fucking mind? Get Jack Nicholson's son.
God. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he has some look like his dad, but not. I feel like Henry did a good job in the Dr. Sleep movie.
He did. But I saw a clip of him in Smile too.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
What the fuck,
yeah.
dude? That's a young Jack Torrance right there, motherfucker. Ooh, no. How about this? Replace Shimi with Abra.
That'd be tough to lose Shimi, though.
I mean,
in the end,
not Shimi, Dinky.
Oh, Dinky.
Replace Dinky with Abra.
Yeah,
that's where Abra ends up. As she gets kidnapped and taken to Algo Ciento and is breaking the beam. Oh, heartbreak, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Ted Brodigan, yeah, you're absolutely right. Could be replaced with Dan Torrance.
Yeah. Callahan's tough, man. You can't lose him. That's like that's one. I don't want to say it's close-handed because I get there's like legal issues involved. But my God, he's so important to the talent of that.
Can you do him as just a non-king character?
I don't know, man.
Like not from another book.
That'll probably be the one that would break my heart the most.
Well, here's the thing.
Legality-wise. Like, they lose lightsaber, Sneech, I don't give a damn. But if they can't get Callahan, I know that he'll figure something out. Because, like, that's the thing always is, like, necessity breeds great artistry, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's why sometimes, like, low-budget movies always end up great. Because people have to really work and think
look
to,
like Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. Versus the sequels that have, like, 10 times the budget but are never as good. So he'll probably come up with something, but that will break my heart because I just think that like the connection to the vampire stuff, like the story about his backstory is all so great. Like it would suck to lose him.
It's great, but is it something that is it on the list of necessities?
No,
I don't.
For
think
me,
it
it's
is.
clknow. It's like if it's open hand or closed fist, it's like a half.
It's a want, not a need. Tad.
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying is I don't think that if that's just someone from Detroit and it's a made up character, okay, that's still an interesting character. He still has the story. He just doesn't have it starting in Jerusalem's Lot, and you don't have vampires. Which honestly, and the whole being a character in Salem's Lot, does that ever have any kind of payoff?
I mean, just it's kind of the doorway to like the whole vampires, which become a big or antagonist in the tail end of the series. Like,
not really.
Yeah,
you see vampires once.
That's all the
at the Dixie Pig. Yeah. The grandfather's there. They kill Callahan, and that's it, folks. We never see a vampire. Our quartet never even experiences a vampire. So it's like, I don't think Callahan's a necessity, sir. I think he's even lower on the wants.
I don't know. I love him.
He's
one of my favorite characters, so it'd be hard to lose him for sure. All right.
Yeah, Allegomorphy. They don't need to bring Salem's Lot into it, but Callahan is definitely integral. The character of Callahan, having someone who brought Black 13 and has it at his church, absolutely. Does that need to be Father Callahan from Salem's Lot? No, it does not. Do we need vampires? No, we do not. Do we need anything about him being a character in a book? No, we do not.
I don't know. That's one of my...
His only thing that he needs to do is bring Black 13 and go with Jake to the Dixie Pig so he can die and save Jake.
I don't know. Now, I will say, if Flanagan is more... And he's never said that, like, Dan Torrance. I think we inserted that. Yeah. But if he could get rights for that, what if it were Dick Halloran?
There you go.
I mean, that's not a priest, but, like, I don't know.
Yeah? He just opens up a restaurant in the Callas. No, really. Like, I mean, like, if you're just gonna go for it.
Agamorphy says Callahan's story being a fantastic bottle episode.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like,
and again, it doesn't have to be. I'm just stressing this. It doesn't have to be Father Callahan. It can be Tad.
Here's the thing. I'm hopeful because that's Warner Brothers,
Sure.
and he has the relationship with Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So I hope that his bigger concerns are some of the other things, and that's landable.
Here's
Because
what I worry.
ultimately, Dan Torrance is Warner Brothers too. So if he can't, if Warner Brothers won't play with him with Callahan, there's a chance that we won't see Abra or Dan or any
Sure.
of these other characters that he helped bring to life.
The thing
on
I would
screen.
worry about with Warner Brothers is that Father Callahan is one of their properties and everything like that. Well, what are you doing with that character? Oh, you're doing that. Well, he died in Salem's Lot, so why are we, that... I could see a little bit of confusion and everything
I know,
like that.
because none of the fucking adaptations
Not
ever let him
a
live.
single adaptation has done Father Callahan correctly.
Bastards.
So that's why, again, another example of another reason why we don't need Father Callahan.
The world knows all about multiverse stuff now, so
It's true, we do.
It's easy. All right, so that was a good one. That was a good conversation.
Yeah, that was great.
Next up, though, let's jump into some smaller King things. First up, King and Chizmar's Gwendy trilogy is going to be published as an omnibus.
Oh, nice.
So if you're a fan of those and want to get them in a single collection, this is from Alex DiVincenzo from Bloody Disgusting on February 18th, 2025. So the trilogy is getting an omnibus release in paperback and ebook. It's going to be 656 pages long, including Gwendy's button box, Gwendy's magic feather, and Gwendy's final task. Of course,
It's such a weird trilogy. It's so weird.
Of course, the series ties to the Dark Tower series, as well as see some familiar locations like Castle Rock and Derry. So, kind of tertiary to the Dark Tower, but it is certainly in the King realm. So, I wish they would omnibus up some audiobooks, because then I would be a lot easier
because they're so short.
Spend a credit on it. Yeah, I hate doing short stuff with my credits. Next up, we've got not that one. This one. We've got so they're publishing the fairy tale Hansel and Gretel is reimagined by Stephen King and Maurice Sendak. And this is from the AP, February 13th, 2025, Hillel Italy. So this is Hansel and Gretel combining two legendary creative forces, Stephen King and Maurice Sendak. Maurice Sendak was the author and illustrator of a number of children's books. Most people from Gen X or millennials will know Where the Wild Things Are.
Okay.
So he passed away in 2012, but the Maurice Sendak Foundation was bringing this book together, and King came aboard after seeing some of his illustrations that he did before he passed away.
Oh, okay.
And here's a quote from King. Two of his pictures in particular spoke to me. One was the Wicked Witch in her broom with a bag of kidnapped children riding behind her. The other was the infamous Candy House becoming a terrible face. I thought, this is what the house really looks like. A devil sick with sin, and it only shows its face when kids turn their backs. And I wanted to write that, King said in his statement through HarperCollins. To me, that is the essence of the story, and really all fairy tales: a sunny exterior and a dark, terrible center, brave and resourceful children. In a way, I've been writing about kids like Hansel and Gretel for much of my life. Very true. And then someone from the Sendak Foundation said, gave some praise to King, say he's a master of scary stories and wonderful writer to boot. So this comes out on September 2nd, so should be pretty cool. Sounds like the animations or illustrations might be very scary, which intrigues me, and I can't wait to see how King writes it.
Put it right up there on the shelf next to Charlie the Choo Choo.
Yes, indeed. And then next up, we've got a big one here. And the headline is a little bit deceptive, but Kiwi to direct Robert De Niro in Netflix thriller, and then semicolon chosen by Stephen King to film a new novella. Those aren't connected. Robert De Niro is not in a Stephen King adaptation here.
Okay.
But this is from Mike White from The Post on February 8th, 2025. And The Post, this is a New Zealand website covering Kiwi filmmaker. And while the headline is pulling double duty, the only thing we care about is the King part. But I will say this about James Ashcroft, who did the much hyped The Rule of Jenny Penn, which is starring John Lithgow and Jeffrey Rush and a creepy puppet. Quote, confined to a secluded rest home and trapped within his stroke-ridden body, a former judge must stop an elderly psychopath who employs a child's puppet to abuse the home's residents with deadly consequences.
Jesus.
I think Hayden sent us the trailer for this in our movie group.
Oh,
so this
okay.
looks really cool. So I just wanted to give some context to who this filmmaker is we're talking about. So the one he is doing with De Niro is called The Whisper Man. I wanted to give you context of this because it's not totally relevant, but
Sure.
it might be something you're interested in. So he's doing this one called The Whisper Man. and it says, quote, a grieving father and his young son relocate to a quiet town of Featherbank, in which there was terrorized by a serial killer known as the Whisper Man 15 years earlier. While the rumors circulate, the Whisper Man worked with an accomplice. So that sounds like a fun.
Okay.
Aside from it all, but
Yeah, Tad knows me very well.
yes. But to
If
get
it had serial killer in it, send it to Peter.
Yeah, but to get on with it, the article then talks about how late last year Ashcroft was browsing a Los Angeles bookshop when he got an email from Stephen King.
Okay.
Ashcroft had written King sometime earlier saying that he admired King's work and wondered if there was any chance they could collaborate on a project. Shoot your shot. I love it.
Take it, yeah.
But King eventually responded to him and said that he really loved The Rule of Jenny Penn and mentioned a novella that Ashcroft might be interested in making a movie out of. And that story, Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream.
No shit. Yes.
Far and away the MVP of the last King
dude,
collection.
that was so good.
So our
That
first
should have been a novel. Oh my god, he should have made that a novel.
So this is our first confirmation of an adaptation from You Like It Darker, but it gets even more interesting and more crazy for Ashcroft. He said the next day King's agent contacted his agent and said, quote, Stephen has been saying no to everyone for about 18 months on this.
Really?
So it sounds like a number of filmmakers are knocking on his door trying to get the rights to this.
Understandably. Dude, it's ready made.
Yeah. But he said if James would like to have a go at it, it is his.
That's awesome.
So then King sold it to him for $1.
Of course he did. I love King.
Around the same time, King tweeted a tweet I think we may have covered on the show where he said The Rule of Jenny Penn is one of the best movies he saw all year. So
Yeah.
King was very impressed with the film. So that also brings us to our big board. We can go ahead and add on there Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream as a
Hell
film. So
yes.
I am very, very stoked about
dude,
this,
that officially has become my most hyped movie.
Did I not
upcoming
say
one.
of like the last roundtable? Like, isn't it weird we haven't seen a single like adaptation? Because like
From that one, yeah.
it feels like the last couple of like books, like there was one that was like sold before it even published, and then a few others it was
The
like
Institute, wasn't it?
was it one of them either
Yeah.
way? But then there's been other ones where within like less than a month, like there's
later Billy Summers, all of those ones. It's like, oh well, that one got picked up.
They get sold.
The next episode, this one got picked
and
up.
this
It's like,
one,
holy hell!
this one it's been months and months, and it's like no
Mm-hmm.
nothing. So this is our first confirmation, but I'm pretty excited because I love that story a lot. So let's jump on over to odds and ends. The first one here, we've got Ryan Coogler's new film, Sinners. It's like a Depression-era horror movie, it seems. And he was asked about his influences for Sinners. And he says, a lot of Coen brothers influence this, starting with, I would say, Inside Llewellyn Davis, some Oh Brother Art Thou, and definitely some Fargo, but definitely some No Country. Robert Rodriguez is a big one. I think it's on the nose, but it's very easy to make Dusk Till Dawn comparisons. But that's actually quite close to The Faculty quite a bit, which is a remake of The Thing, which I don't know if I've ever realized that before. The Faculty, the 1998 one with the teachers that are like aliens. Like I've never considered that a Thing remake, but I need to rewatch that now suddenly. Which is one of my favorite movies. Definitely my favorite horror. So there's a lot of Carpenter in this film as well. But then he pauses and I think there's more stuff that's written in the article. But then it says his biggest influence, but the biggest influences, truthfully, the biggest influences are not cinema. You know the novel Salem's Lot, right? That had a massive influence on this film. So looks like old Cy King got a big shout out with Ryan Coogler as an influence on this, maybe the biggest influence. And then the synopsis on this: trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back home.
Sounds
Dun, dun,
like,
dun.
yeah.
So that's pretty awesome.
Okay, Salem's Lot or It.
And then Carol says, I thought Dollar Babies are only for nonprofit projects. Has that changed, or would this be non-profit? So the Dollar Babies is generally for like film students and stuff.
That's done now, right?
And that is being shut down.
Yeah.
But I will say that over the years, King will sell the movie rights for very little. When he sold the Dark Tower rights to J.J. Abrams, it was for $19.
Yeah.
So there's the Dollar Babies program, but there is also the fact that King generally doesn't get make people pay a lot of money for getting the rights to stuff. So I guess it's kind of confusing in my mind. I thought the same thing. I was like, please God, don't tell me this is a Dollar Babies that won't get a wide theatrical release.
But then you see who it was sold to sold 2 for $1.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no, that's not.
That's just yeah.
Yeah.
And I think King obviously gets like percentages of like maybe the box office, whatever. He gets his money, and not that he needs money. He's quite successful. But yeah, he's always been famous for, because I remember the $19 being a big thing with the J.J. Abrams when he got the rights to Dark Tower. So next up, Stephen King is a monster. Let's get over to this one here. While I was looking for Uncle Stevie Recommends, I found this on Threads. Somebody tweeted at him saying, "Hey, at Stephen King, I've been reading The Gunslinger for the first time. I've made it halfway. I love Jake, and I love that Roland loves Jake," and then gives a heart.
Oh.
And then King retweets and says, "Thank you." What a monster.
Shame.
Oh man, King.
Shame.
That, I mean, good on him for not spoiling anything, but damn.
I clicked on his tweet just to see, and it's on Threads, I know, but it'll always be tweets to me. Not because I like Twitter, but just that's the nomenclature I've been using since 2009.
Yeah.
And I went and clicked on his tweet, and the first response is, "Hey, hit me up when you finish the book."
Who's gonna tell him? No one tell him.
Oh, I love it. That's brutal though. That hurt me a little bit.
Holy
So then
cow.
Uncle Stevie Recommends. The first one, he has The Pit on Hulu, which is the hospital one in Pittsburgh. He says, "Forget those other doctor shows. This is the best, realistic and heart-wrenching. Come for the life or death medical situation. Stay for the human drama, which is real rather than corny." So
I'm gonna correct King. That's on Max, not Hulu.
oh, well.
Just want to throw that out there. That is a Max exclusive.
If you have a
Hulu does have a subscription now where you can include Max with
other
your
stuff,
your
maybe,
thing.
and maybe that's what
but
he
I
does.
just want you to know, if you go to look for it on Hulu and you don't see it, it's because it's on Max.
If there's a
So,
killer clown on your doorstep tonight, that's King, not me.
I apologize, but I'm just, dude. We talked about this show a couple episodes ago because this is the ER spinoff one, right?
It's not. It's the same actor from ER.
But isn't it? I thought you
No.
said it was like characters and everything too.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but the actor from this was like the main guy over the course of the ER. So there are a lot of people who are like fan theory, like, oh, something happened to him, so he changed his identity and moved to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But no, it's not official. It's its own thing,
it can be watched on Hulu with a premium subscription to Max,
which is probably what he's
So,
doing. And
Yeah,
King's,
and just didn't realize it.
King's
Yeah.
78 years old. So
I just wanted to clarify for our fans who only have Hulu and may go look for it on Hulu, and it's like, well, it's not there.
yeah, it's on my list to watch. I
Yeah.
haven't got around to it yet.
Okay.
And then he also says The God of the Woods by Liz Moore, a long novel that at first is hard to put down. By page 200, impossible. So
That
that's
sounds like something I've done with King is just impossible to put down.
Yeah, and I wanted to grab a synopsis. Early morning of August 1975, a camp counselor discovers an empty bunk. Its occupant, Barbara Van Laar, has gone missing. Barbara isn't just any 13-year-old. She's the daughter of a family that owns the summer camp and employs most of the region's residents. And it isn't the first time that a Van Laar child has disappeared. Barbara's older brother similarly vanished 14 years ago, never to be found. As the panicked search begins, a thrilling drama unfolds, chasing down layered secrets of the Von Leer family and a blue-collar community working in the shadows. Moore is a multi-threaded story, invites readers into a rich, gripping dynasty of secrets and second chances. It's Liz Moore's most ambitious and wide-reaching novel yet. So that's a synopsis for anyone that's wondering what King's thrown out there for recommendations. And then, that one story went a little bit longer than I expected, so we don't have a ton of time to talk about the monkey. But
Sorry.
I honestly, it's fine. It's just I kind of expected that might be long, but it's good. I love those conversations.
I got people mad at me for saying that Tull should be cut. From,
Peter's a Tull hater, so we're gonna
that's gonna be a thing now, isn't it?
probably, yeah. All right, so jumping on over into the Palaver section though. Let's go on over here. I've got a good old slide here. It's pretty fun, huh?
No.
So I wanted to point out a couple.
Especially that scene.
I wanted to point out a couple things. First of all, Neon's last publicity stunt for this movie was a couple of around the release. They had a bus with a bunch of dead cheerleaders that was driving around Los Angeles. There's a YouTube video out there. I will connect it to the show notes if you want to go watch it. All I can say is Neon is incredible when it comes to marketing. I will actually also throw up the picture of the bus. I got a picture of it if you want to see what they had driving around Los Angeles.
Oh my god.
You can imagine that wasn't necessarily the most happy reaction with some people. But either way, Neon's incredible when it comes to their marketing. So also I teased this a while back. I think it was the last episode when we did a book club, but we obviously weren't going to cover it. But the reason the monkey changed, so that's been revealed.
The symbols to a drum.
Yes. So Osgood was doing an interview, and in the interview is revealed that apparently Disney claims ownership over the symbol monkey.
Toy Story.
But this is kind of makes me wonder, though, because this toy dates back to the Hoover administration. This is from the 1930s. Back when Disney was sending money over to Germany for political donations.
Yes.
So it's kind of weird. Like, how can Disney have ownership of this? I also wanted to point out, like, they could have bought it for Toy Story, but there's also a chance that they are just bullying people because Disney's good at that.
Because it's Disney.
Also, I wanted to point out the time when they tried to copyright Dia de Muertes, the Day of the Dead, which is like a
national holiday
in Mexico. They eventually got bullied out of it and they backed out on it, but they were doing that for one of their movies. So I wonder if this is like a true they have the copyright or trademark on it, or if it's one of those things that they just like claim to, and Neon doesn't have as big a budget for this, where they're like, we're not going to fight this. So.
Yeah, why would you when you could just easily make a change?
Yeah. But Osgood said, quote, "It's one of those things where limitations becomes an opportunity." I kind of alluded to that earlier.
Yep.
He says, if you're making a movie and you're not up for that adage, then you're going to be in real trouble. He was ultimately pleased with the outcome, stating, I was like, hey, that's awesome. The drum is better anyway. The drum is like a marching drum. It's like drum roll, please, before something happens. That's way better than cymbals. So thanks, Disney. I prefer it.
Yeah, also like the wind up too, because like the arm goes up and then the drumstick twists.
Yeah, there's drama.
That added a little bit more to it than just the, because in the novella, all it is just someone dies. There is no preamble, there is no build up, there is no like you said, Tad, there is no. Oh no, he died. Kind of thing. So yeah, I'm glad Osgood made that change.
Carol says that's a crazy picture, and it says Disney should not be able to do that just because they used it. I call BS, and I think I agree, and that's why I wanted to give the Dia de Muertes context, because Disney. I feel like they overstep their bounds a lot, and I just wonder if Neon, being a smaller company, and also this movie they want to make a lot of money off of, so they're going to limit their budget. They're probably not in the way of like, we want to have this fight. They're like, let's just change it, type thing. But I agree. I find it very suspicious that Disney actually has the copyright on it. So, we're we don't have a ton of time, but we have about 10 minutes, I think. So, let's just talk overarching. So we went and saw the monkey. Was it after last episode? Well, last episode was a book club anyway.
It was in between, because last episode was the Saturday right after Captain America.
Okay.
And then in the off week we went and saw the monkey.
The monkey.
And
after.
now it's this week.
Okay, so
it was a week ago and a day, because it was on Friday when we saw it.
Okay. What were your overall thoughts?
It's such a fucking fun movie. Off the walls, but fun.
Absolutely batshit. I think King tweeted that it's batshit, and he says, as someone that has dabbled in batshittery in his course of his career, he said like whatever, but he said it in the best kind of way, right? He said batshit in the best kind of way, and I totally agree. This movie was fucking nuts. Like, it was very much in my mind horror comedy. Did you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was about to say, I laugh with horror anyway because I love horror, and I don't tend to get scared. I tend to just laugh at it. But this one just felt like everybody else in our group was laughing too, it felt like. So Osgood absolutely nailed it in my mind with this movie. I think he did an incredible job.
Yeah.
I would recommend anyone go see it. I still want a 1-to-1 scale monkey
Not a plastic one.
No, Neon's already selling like a 10-inch plastic one, but they're charging a lot of money for it for a little piece of plastic. I want one that's got fur and a real vest and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, this movie is incredible though. Very, very gory, over the top. Which a lot, what's funny is a lot of I think what you could say about it was all said in the marketing. Everybody dies was like the tagline on the movie. There was the one poster that was like, people are going to die by things up to and including a swimming pool, horses, and like it listed like a bunch of things, and it's like, holy shit, a harpoon gun and stuff. So it's like I feel like the marketing was like, I don't think there's like, if we had more time, we'd probably dive a little bit deeper into it. But I don't think it's as like spoilery because I don't think there is spoilers to be had. I think this movie's just kind of like, it is what it is. But I loved Longlegs. So Osgood is high up on my list right now. So with this being the follow-up is incredible. I've said it for years on this show. I can't believe this hasn't been made multiple times over the years. It just feels like a no-brainer of a horror movie.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like the VHS tape in The Ring, right? It's like, oh, a tape, and then you have a countdown. Like when you have like things that are like visual or like auditory, like it just makes it scarier when that, like, oh, anytime like you hear this bell, someo's gonna get executed. Like that. Well, that's terrifying.
It's the siren in Silent Hill.
Yes, exactly.
You hear the siren in Silent Hill. You hear the da-da in Jaws. Get out of the. I don't understand the swimmers in that movie. Like they're so dumb. You hear the first dun-dun. I'm out of the water. Like just get out of the water. It's not hard.
Oh man.
You hear a cymbal. You hear a drum monkey start drumming. Someone's gonna die.
See, that's why if I was like to own a resort that had a pool and stuff, I would have speakers built into the side of the pool, and I'd just play the Jaws theme randomly to see how people would react.
Would you have billionaires had, right? You'd have a giant ass pool at a resort. Would you have someone develop a freaking like fake shark that could come up out of the bottom of the pool and just start swimming around and then disappear, and everyone's like, "There was a shark in the pool," and you just like make them think that they're mad?
Maybe for a kiddie pool.
For the kids' pool.
Yeah, because they have more of an active imagination. They'll fall for it way more. So
I was just curious. I couldn't believe that Disney had it copyrighted. Apparently, when Toy Story 3 came out, they filed a copyright for it as a character in one of their films.
Yeah.
So because of that, not trademarking, like going back, but going forward.
But it's still you can't though, because that toy has existed for almost 100 years.
That's kind of
now.
Interesting that they just are able to put it into one of their movies and now they own it.
Yeah, and I don't think they do. I think like if this were a Warner Brothers or a bigger company, I think there may have actually been like more of a pissing contest and like bring it to court type thing. But when it's Neon and this is kind of a the great thing about horror is they're cheap and they make a lot of money. If you're going to get into tens of millions of dollars of litigation,
then you're defeating the purpose of the film.
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
So,
it's just kind of interesting, and it also pointed out that the copyright goes for 95 years. Yeah. So no one can use a Symbol Monkey character for 95 years. Apparently,
yeah, that's nonsense.
That's insanity to me.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk specifics about this, or we're going to kind of keep it a little bit vague?
Just give me your favorite.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is like, what was your favorite kill, right? Like that's gotta be the question, right?
God, I don't know, man, because they were all just so fun.
I know which. I mean, we could do this. I know which one made me the hungriest.
Cherry cobbler.
I still want fucking cherry cobbler, dude.
Which is very
disturbing and very sick. But oh my gosh, man.
This movie was incredible, though. I've just got to hype it. I mean,
it was so much fun.
I think in general we try to like not go too deep into things like when they're so new, because people still haven't had a chance to see it.
It's only been a week,
Yeah, so I don't want to go too deep, but I will say, everyone, I've been waiting for this movie for a long time. There was a part of me that was just kind of wondering, like, is Osgood like, was Longlegs a fluke, and is he really going to be like great across the board? My doubts are gone now. Osgood is great. So
tune in about 20 minutes. Stay tuned, because we are going to be talking about Longlegs on our Geekery Abides podcast, but.
Also, stay after the credits. Apparently, there's a teaser for his next movie after the credits.
Yeah, you text us about that. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I was mad.
Is it out yet? Have they released it?
I haven't seen anything.
They
yet,
haven't.
No.
All those bastards.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
If anyone can record it and send it to us, our
show
at Dark Tower.
I still might go see it again, because this is a fun movie.
I will say, one of the best experiences ever is when someone dies in a horrific way in a movie, and the rest of the audience goes, "Oh!" and you hear Tad go, "Ah!" starts laughing. Dude, did you hear the people behind us?
No.
They were like, oh my God. Like reacting to you reacting.
Because this movie was just so over the top that almost in a comedic sense, like that's why it was like, because I know there's some people like, oh, things don't scare me, I just laugh, like, and they're just being kind of like trying to be like, it's not me. I just have seen horror movies since I've 34 years of my life I've been watching horror movies, so like they don't get to me, but like and I'm also sitting next to Hayden, which reacts very viscerally, which makes me laugh too.
The finger.
But this movie was done in a way where it's so over the top that I think that I'm not the only one laughing.
You weren't. There was times where me and my wife were laughing at some of the deaths and everything, and I guess we should call them kills, and and everything. The monkey's body count needs to be figured out.
Yeah, I mean that's a high one.
It's gonna be a high one. I mean, you had a lot of people die in this film.
Yeah. It was good. I loved it though. Everyone did a good job acting.
Excessive gore.
Yes, very. And I love gore. I mean, I think there's an art to like slashers and stuff. So I really enjoyed this a lot. And I don't know. Yeah,
I have one question to finish us off with this, just to kind of tease you a little bit. Do you hope for an unrated director's cut?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're going to give me an unrated director's... And I feel like they may have already talked about that, potentially, like slightly teased it. I'll pre-order it right now if they're giving me an unrated director's cut.
Tad would pay a shiny nickel for that.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, no, that's... so remember, I wanted to go back to the reminder that it is March Insanity is on.
Yeah.
So go get your vote in over at darktowerpalaver.com/March Insanity.
I don't remember who said it in the chat. I think it was Baraki was like, do I get like a I voted sticker? Like
should be like flag giving you a thumbs up. I voted.
It should be a smiley face with a bullet hole in it.
But yeah, we have 2 brackets this year. Favorite spoken line from the Dark Tower, and then the Stephen King side, the non-Dark Tower, which is a new poll we're doing.
Where can they vote?
In parallel, is most hated non-Dark Tower character.
Yeah.
Over at darktowerpalaver.com/March Insanity, or if you just go to darktowerpalaver.com, you can find your way to it in there. It's all on our website.
Yeah.
But I did create a new thing starting at the tail end of last year where you could just do our web address /March Insanity, and it'll bring you right to the page where everything.
Will you put it in the description of the video?
Yeah, I can do that for sure.
That's a good way to do it.
Definitely go get your vote in. I can't wait to see what we have here for favorite spoken line and most hated non-Dark Tower character. See if Percy makes it.
Dude, it's gonna be a Percy and
Mrs.
Carmody showdown, and I am not gonna know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, gonna have to flip a coin. All right, so let's go ahead and jump to the outro stuff real quick. If you want to subscribe to us, you can do that on any podcasting service your choice. You can stream us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible. There's all kinds of places to do podcasts nowadays. It's been a long road. We've been here 9 years now, which is forever in internet years. But back in the day, it was just podcast things. Now it's like, Apple's always been around too, but it's like, now to think like, if you would have told me years ago that Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, all those places would have podcasts, I would have called you crazy. But you can find us anywhere now.
I'm pretty sure my water bottle allows you to listen to podcasts. Subscribe, rate, and review.
Yeah, indeed. So, and then if you want to join the shows live, you can do that over here at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. We obviously had a lot of people very active this episode too.
Welcome back, Carol.
Yeah, welcome back, Carol. Love to see it, and everyone as well that was here. I love having this is probably one of the stoutest conversations we've had in a long time. Probably because that article, getting into the nitty gritty of Dark Tower adaptations.
And Brocky only doing one snake emoji. I really appreciate you dialing that back a little.
Oh no. Also, we got to get the snake with the water. And Carol missed that too. She doesn't. She doesn't know the Ermot.
No, we don't need to.
Ermot,
finish. I gotta do mine.
The Ermot and Rhea coupling.
Oh God.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's so good. But yeah, that is. And then if you want to find the show notes as well as the March Insanity, you can do that over at darktowerpalaver.com. You can support the show at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. Then if you want to contact the show and talk about snake couplings with Peter.
Don't say the couplings. My God. Email us at show@darktowerpalaver.com. Threads and Instagram, darktowerpalaver.
Too far, Ted.
Blue. God, I'm going to throw up. Blue Sky at darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. Twitter at darktowerpod. Facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. tpublic.com/user/darktowerpalaver. Pick up a hashtag Tad is terrible shirt. Oh gosh, Tad.
You know, suddenly it makes
not coupling. Don't say that. That's so wrong.
Suddenly it makes so much more in a roundtable. We could talk spoilers. It makes so much more sense why she was so upset about Ermot being killed.
Don't.
Disgusting.
In our book clubs, Carol, just to make it totally clear, we found a very, very close scene between Ermot and certain regions of Rhea. So, it's one of those things you just breeze by when you're reading the whole story. But when we're doing line by line,
ew, that's gross. Well, it's at the end of a subchapter. You're like, ew, that's gross. On to the next subchapter. But now, it's just like Tad won't let it go.
And Baraki is making a point. You've said coupling more than I have.
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, hashtag wet snake.
Oh God.
All right. With that, we'll sign off as we always do by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
All right, everyone in the chat, thank you guys all for joining us. Thanks for being part of the show. Thanks for being part of the conversation. If I ever get you to yak on this show,
Hell, Powers.
if I ever get you to throw up, that'll be an achievement. It'll pop up on the screen, achievement unlocked.
God.
So thank you guys. You guys are awesome. If you're going to join us for Geekery Abides, we'll be back in a couple minutes. Otherwise, we'll be back in a fortnight. You'll see me a little bit sooner on YouTube with the end of the brackets a week from today for round one. I'll have a short video recapping the results for round one.
Baraki, a wave, not even the droplet, a wave?
Oh, Rhea's real happy.
I hate it here.
Otherwise, we'll be back in a fortnight. Also, remember, I forgot to say at the beginning of the show, there's 3 episodes in March, so we're going to have 2 book clubs the rest of the month.
Yeah.
So be here a fortnight from now for the next Wizard and Glass, and then a fortnight after that we'll be hitting another Wizard and Glass, because we had someone email us or hit us up on social media asking like, wow, when's your guys' next book club? It was right before we had our book club, because after with the year-end bash and everything, it had been a good while. It's like early December until February we didn't have a book club, so we are making up for it now because we're going to have 2, so hopefully we can get some Ermot and Rhea action in our book clubs here. Thank y'all, and thank you, Baraki, for hitting Peter with that last emoji. I love that. So, see you guys.